Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. Today's guest is Roman Rozell, a former Green Beret, Arizona State University Sun Devils collegiate wrestler, a dad, a grunt style and downrange subs ambassador, Diamond Dallas Page yoga instructor, and occasional professional wrestler. You want to go out and pick out his new Warrior Handbook, A Dose of Inspiration. Take a look at it there if you're watching the video. It's good, some good stuff in there to guide you along your way towards dealing with some of those mental health issues and life issues that you may be having. I do really appreciate you guys for listening. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along. And if you think you qualify for being on Lesser Known Operators, send me a message. We'll have a discussion and we'll probably record an episode. Thank you guys for listening and enjoy the show. Roman Rozell, author of A Dose of Inspiration, Warrior Handbook, all profits going to Warriors Purpose Foundation. Welcome to Lesser Known Operators. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's one occasion I've said on the show that I only do like 5 or 10 minutes of investigation on who's coming on because I've cold messaged people. They'll be like, "Oh, perfect, Green Beret." Send the message, "Hey, you want to do a show? I'm an unheard of guy that you've never heard of, sitting in a basement in Wisconsin. You want to come talk with me for a few hours?" So I sent you one. You fired right back. Yours was real easy. You just had a profile pic with the Green Beret on, so I didn't have to do any vetting.
Right.
So I sent you out. You got the message, and I wish I would have done some more research because you get a book out, and as I said, we got our growing book club here at Lesser Known Operators. So that's in the mail now. I can't wait to check that out for you. What is that all about?
Oh, it's a mental health workbook. It's like my second edition. I initially self-published in 2019 because I was in school with mental health work, uh, social work, sociology, and I've been in therapy forever, even prior to me even being in the service, and then being in the service, and then finally actually getting some good help and treatment. I realized like how useful worksheets are, especially like when you're you know, a meathead knucklehead dude that doesn't like to be told what to do. Like, I'll figure it out myself. So like having worksheets kind of help you kind of reinforce what you already know, but kind of structured, allows you to kind of process things outside. It's not like oh, it shouldn't take over treatment, but it's a good supplement to like if you had to go therapy and all that other stuff, short on the spot, like what do I do? What do I do? Go to the drawing board, facts, assumptions, just as you would like in the team room and stuff like that. So I basically put together like what I was already using for myself, and I would just take them to, Staples or Office Max, pay $80 just for me to have my own worksheet or workbook. And then once I kind of got my name got out there, they were like, "Hey, you need to publish a book or something." I was like, "Oh, man," I was like, "I don't feel like my story's over yet." I was like, "But I have like a workbook." And then that's kind of how it all came to be. At least the first one. Then the second one came, just last year, 2024, Black Friday. Got it published through Defiance Press and with the help of Diamond Dallas Page. So
Shout out to Diamond
feel the
Dallas Page.
bang. Yeah.
Feel I love that, right? Because when you go to physical therapy, all the physical therapy you do is really the exercises they give you to do at home. Also, is
Right.
that kind of your thinking behind it? Is I go to therapy, but
Absolutely.
that's only 45 minutes. We got
Mhm.
168 hours the rest of the week to figure shit out by yourself.
100%.
167.25, but right, but yeah.
And I kind of
So
structured and logged it so like if the next time they go to a therapist or whatever, they can show them like, hey, here's like a catalog of what I was dealing with at this time. Here's some blessings that were great. Here's some stressful things. Here's some stuck points. Here's some things that I'm working on, rather than coming in there and just having like a talk session. Because that's what some of them are, is just talk. And it's like, you're not really doing much. And I've had several TBIs, and it's hard to, when you go see a neurologist, your symptoms or whatever, because it's invisible stuff. They can do, you know, uh, the scans of your head and, see what's firing, what's not. But for the most part, it's like, hey, should we prescribe you Tobamax, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So instead, he was always like, hey, keep like a little catalog, like a calendar each day, like, what you had, for breakfast? What you do this? And we can kind of, you know, look at all of it and do process of elimination. I could see what I could help, supplement or your workouts, or if you need more cognitive therapy, stuff like that. And that's where I took that idea too, to mold it into the books. I was like, it's like going to a therapist, man. Like, you can tell them one thing, but if you're not like living a good lifestyle, at least they can be like, hey, maybe cut this out, work on this, and here's some worksheets. So that's kind of how it all came to go together. I mean,
How much of a factor
yeah.
did your TBIs play in struggling with mental health? Because all of us do it, right?
Oh,
And then we make it worse. So I think a lot of it is undiagnosed traumatic brain injuries.
absolutely. That it played a huge part. I mean, I actually had to get a waiver to go to selection because in the two combat tours before, I'd had, few TBIs, and I was able to go to selection and obviously, pass, but I had to still continue like quarterly, see the neurologist. I had to do cognitive therapy. So I always knew I had the brain injuries, and the shitty thing is, the residual effects get worse over time. And the thing that for me, it's like I was only focused on TBI. PTSD wasn't even a thing for me because it was very um, the just the stigma, just the word, it's like saying you got, oh, you're bipolar. So automatically someone thinks like you're fucking Jekyll and Hyde, and that's totally not true. It's something so separate. So with PTSD, it's kind of like what the Hollywood think, or the way Hollywood portrays it, as far as like almost like a hallucination. Like, you ever watch Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke?
When I was a kid, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you had the Vietnam vet like out there, and he starts hearing things. He's like, Charlie, look in the trees. And they're like, Charlie. So that's what I always thought PTSD was. But I was having all like the craziest symptoms you could think of outside of just like these crazy hallucinations. So it was just like being uneducated about it. So as time went on and more treatment and therapy, they realized like, hey, dude, you got to quit avoiding this or PTSD thing, because uh, we think you've done so much work on yourself for your brain injuries, and how you kind of compensate neurologically, but for this other stuff, these blend together, these symptoms. So if we like fix these other things too, we can kind of like hone it in, zero the target a little bit better. And I was like, no, no, no. Then when I finally went to like an actual treatment center, when I was in group, they educated me like on science about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I do have like, sweaty palms. I get, anxious, social anxiety, all these other things that can be triggered by, I don't know, a smell, a thought, stuff like that. And then I realized that I was so focused on like my TBI and stuff, just, being lost sometimes, or, uh, let's dissociate for the most part.
Mhm.
But then once I was able to kind of work on some unprocessed trauma, that actually kind of like did zero my target. And I was like, a better warfighter, I guess you can say.
Yeah. And you don't even understand, I guess, the PTSD aspect of a traumatic incident until something happens, right? Because I didn't go to combat, so I don't have that whole thing from my service. But I did get hurt in training. I got hurt on the ocean and on a Zodiac. And the first time I was around that boat, years after I had to be around a Zodiac, I was like, my fucking face started to tingle. And I'm
Oh,
like,
exactly.
and I'm
Yeah.
looking at it and I'm like, fuck that boat. And I totally, to that point, had no experience like that. And then I hear the waves crashing, and I'm like, nah, fuck, that was a bad day. You start thinking about it and
It
going,
goes back.
ah, that
Yeah.
was pretty. I laugh about it, but it was pretty shitty. And
It is. Yeah.
people don't understand until they have that something. And mine's just little. It was shitty for me. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And the worst thing that ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Absolutely.
So we all
Trauma's
have
trauma.
different ways. Yeah, it is. Everybody's got a different cup and a way they deal with things, and but it's great. The government sends me a check every month, and I'm afraid of the ocean. So I guess there's a bright
That's what I
side
feel
to
you.
looking at it.
Yeah, I kind of say something similar to that. I'm like, hey, at least I'm getting by.
I make a point of it every January 1st to go thank people for my cost of liver, my raise, and things. Just joking around. It's like, thank
Right.
you, thank you, thank you for my service. It's just messing. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, it's only funny to me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, man. So that's great. So you got, but you started putting your thoughts down and gathering up and go, how did it work in towards a book? People just said more people need to know about this.
Well, the book, like I said, came way after because after I medically retired,
Okay.
I um,
Is
I
it
was
not to interrupt you? Were you medically retired for the kind of the same reason I was? You couldn't go back, went on permanent profile from the TBIs.
yeah, I kind of reached that point because, like I said, I'd already had a waiver way back in 2007,
Hmm.
um, or correction, because of a 2007 incident, in Iraq and stuff like that was a pretty bad one. I had to get that waiver to go to selection in 2009. 2010, sorry. I got it in
You're all
2009 to
right,
go to
man.
2010. And I had to continue treatment just so I could stay in because it seemed like with now, if I'm not doing some type of like speech therapy or cognitive therapy or whatever, like I can, or yoga, like I can be crippled. I fractured my back too, also over there in a rollover, and just um, I, I had to keep getting those waivers all the time. So that's why it was easy for me to, when it was my time was like, hey, I reached max capacity. I was able to medically retire because it was just like, man, yeah, I can't go anymore. And I'm like, and I'm doing everything to try to stay in this, but this isn't serving me anymore. And but it wasn't like I could just stop uh seeing all the therapists and neurologists and stuff. It's stuff I still have to do today. But
Yeah.
that's how I got out with the TBI, PTSD, and then the fracture.
It all adds up, right? Because when you're in it, you go, "Oh, it's just another thing. It's just another thing." And then you take a look back and go, "God, that's a lot. That's a lot of shit."
Yeah.
It didn't when was at the clinic after mine. The doctor starts asking me. She goes, "Well, what's your other history of concussions?" And I went, "Well, I got knocked out. I got hit real hard in Sear. Uh, and I'm pretty sure I got a concussion in Sear." She's
Oh,
like,
for sure.
"Oh, okay." And then she's like, "Why do you think that?" I was like, "Well, I thought I was having weird dreams, but then I realized I'm fine." And right as we were getting liberated, I got knocked and I felt funny, but my adrenaline went up at that time, so I discarded it. So that's one.
Exactly. That happens a lot.
Yeah, I know we had a guy. He had a different. Never mind, I can't actually say. But something happened to another guy, and we noticed a change in his uniform. We go, and he just gone. But that was one. There was uh, another one in selection. In my unit, they sent me to combatives, and you'll go in for the clinch, and this instructor jag off fucking right up
Oh,
out, fucking painful. Basic training, I got knocked out in pugils, and I start listing off all this other shit, and she goes, "You're going to get medically retired." And luckily, I was able to go hide out in Korea for quite a while until I had nowhere else to go. But
yeah,
yeah, it does add up, and
it does.
and and now most of the symptoms have gone away. How are yours? Do you still have the lingering effects day to day that always
Absolutely.
there?
Yeah. And I think I've tried to take the approach and be like the mental health advocate warrior. But it's funny, my daughter, who's now 18, uh, she was telling me, she's like, Dad, you should probably start talking about what people don't see. Because I've been kind of like an ambassador, well, influencer ambassador for Grunt Style and just other things for the past 5, 6 years. And it's more like a David Goggins approach, like "What's up, warriors? Forks up, salute," all that other stuff, like inspiring people. But turn the camera off, and then I'm driving. Next thing you know, like my head's like going crazy. I'm like, "Oh shit!" Or you just have a crazy migraine to where like you lose like your vision, just stuff like that. And then you do the things that you're taught as far as like breathing, calming down, whether it's like ground with ice, and then just to get yourself in a good spot. And then you go out and people see like that warrior again, but it's like those other things that they're not seeing, you know. So I'm trying to like change that approach this year.
Yeah, just stop hiding stuff, right,
Yeah,
from
exactly.
people.
It just
We did
Yep.
the CrossFit Open, and I'm reading the third workout. I'm like, I got this. This is all right in my workout. But then there were these wall walks where you have to walk backwards and get your hands close to the wall and walk down. So, but when my shoulders got tired, I started flexing my neck, and so
Oh,
I got the 15th one done, third set of five, and it had gone in behind my eye, and the whiplash from the one, it just started squeezing my head.
oof. Yep.
And I'm right back there, hurt again. Just, oh, it's back. And, I take so much care not to have that come out. And I told the guy, I was like, I'm done. I'm in extreme pain. I'm not going to push it just to finish a workout. Um, I'm at least to that point where I go, I don't give a fuck, because when you're Billy Badass, you care what people think about you. You want to look like Captain America. And now I go, I don't give a fuck if I do well or I do poorly. I don't want to hurt
Good
like
for
that.
good for you, man. I struggle with that still to this day, like recently, like
We all
whether
we
it's
all
like
do,
pop
because
pop my rib, pull a groin doing jujitsu, but I don't tell anybody, so I keep showing up till I can't do it. And it's like then I end up hurting myself worse. And it was like all just to avoid not being a broke dick. And
yeah.
I don't know
I mean, if
why I'm
somebody
still
picks up heavier dumbbells than me in the gym, I obviously have to pick up heavier ones than them. But on other things, I've pulled it back quite a bit. But that's part
yeah,
of growth, I guess, and
I'm I'm
recognizing that.
I'm working on
It's good.
it.
We all are, but it's just one example. So, fuck, man. I
I mean, I
mean,
was inspired by you saying that. I'm glad that you can do that. And I'm like, all right, I should be fucking doing that too. You know?
you're the only one that has to live your life.
I
Everything you
know.
do or fail to do is not going to, I mean, unless you're working with other people, but,
Yeah.
if you're treating yourself, right? And you give off this energy to people and you're authentic and faking through a thing to impress somebody else or impress yourself is not going to benefit you in the end.
Does not.
Do your best, and people love to see authenticity. And that's what I try to make this whole show about, right? Is this is 100% me. The memes and the reels and the shit I make, that is all me. I'm not trying to make anything up. That's why I can't make the funny reels that often, is because I'll make something, I'll be like, this is shit. I'm just trying too hard. And I'll start over. I'll go do something else. But yeah, you're the only person that has to live your life and die at the end of the day. And you need to do it 100% for you, because if you're not doing that, then you can't help anybody else if you're
Right.
not taking care of yourself first. So, little
Absolutely.
Jordan Peterson wisdom of the day.
Right.
So, well, you said, so you joined the army probably around 2001 then, right?
No, 2004. 2004.
Okay.
I graduated high school in 2003, but I had a very humble beginning. My parents divorced when I was, man, like 6, and then my mom got into like toxic relationships, and I grew in the poor part of Arizona, Apache Junction, also known as AJ. Um, Anytime rent was due, we would move, or we would just live like trailer park to trailer park, squat in a couple houses, shanties, whatever. Just drugs were really affluent in that life, and it wasn't like my dad wasn't in the picture. My mom just kind of held my sister and myself hostage, like in that, just to survive, I guess, for the most part. And it it kind of helped me, like as far as learning how to control chaos and think and act cool in some very serious situations. But I was way too young to even go through that. So I was like 30 at age 10. And then I started to use drugs myself, self-medicate in high school. But I was also like a really good student. I volunteered my time at churches and stuff like that. I was just struggling, whatever. But I got a wrestling scholarship to Northwestern College, which is a NAI school in Northwest Iowa. And he'd called me and he was like, "Are you gonna come out here?" And I was like, "I have a drug problem, another kid on the way. Like, you don't even want me." And he's like, "I know who you are." He's like, "You have to get out of that situation, especially with kids involved." And I didn't see the value, but it was crazy. Like, yeah. So I took it. went out there. My wife at the time stayed here with the kids and, work and live with my parents and stuff like that. And not too long after that, Pat Tillman had died. And I'm an Arizona native. And he went to ASU and then went to the Cardinals. And I grew up so poor that, money was the reason why I was always trying to do everything, was like so I wouldn't have to live the way that I had to grow up. So I see this guy throw away millions to enlist, and fight something to serve. So that was a little inspiring to me because I was like, what have I done? I'm at school right now, but my kids, like, we're struggling. We don't have insurance, stuff like that. Um, so I enlisted, and at that point, it was like, again, um, I was like signing bonus, and there was only three signing bonuses. It was infantry, Cav Scout, and tanker. Tanker had the highest one, so I chose that. I didn't even know there was any other jobs, so that's how easy of a recruit I was. Because I just thought it was all combat. It doesn't matter, like you're just a shooting guns or whatever. Then when I finally get in, I was like, I could have been an X-ray tech, or I could have done this, but it worked out. That's how it initially started. How I got into the service. Just take care of the family and serve and build something better than what I was already doing.
Did you have a mustache as a 19 kilo like everybody else?
Oh hell no.
Okay.
No,
Was that as much of a thing as everybody says it is
no,
in the
no.
rest of the army? No.
We weren't allowed that stuff. It was already like, we don't want to see you have a mustache.
So yeah, yeah. Either you can get away with it or you can't in the army. Or now you can have beards as long as you go through and get the paperwork. So it's kind of a different thing to go about.
Yeah.
So how was your first unit you get to after basic training? You go, how was that?
And it was wild because they just got back from Iraq. So I still had like the BDUs on, and they had like the desert camis they got to wear around. So obviously stick out, and just like anything, you gotta, uh, it's a rite of passage. It was a different time back then, stuff that you can't get away with these days. But so it was tough, but I was like, hey, this is what the military is, and there is no, ace card at the time. You just gotta fucking do it and be like, all right, someday I'll be at that spot, and you know, as long as I can make it through. And they were already planning another trip to Iraq, like within the year. So it was like, okay, man, they just got back, and we're already planning on going where we're going. And so it was just field time, field time, field time. So it was, the op tempo was crazy.
So you didn't really have any expectations of what the army was going to be like when you came into it.
No, I didn't know what. As a matter of fact, like when I graduated, I thought I was going to be an officer. Like I didn't even know the difference between officers and enlisted. Because in my head, I was like, well, I got college. They're like, no, you got to be a college grad, you know, and then go through this process. So I was like, damn, that's how ignorant I was to the military. And then once I got into it, it was like, fucking Chuck Norris. I'm going to own this shit.
And did you?
I'd like to say yes.
Yeah.
For the most part, but I think a lot of that stuff too is like just coping mechanisms for just kind of how I grew up or whatever, and outside of ego, you know what I mean? But putting yourself in situations that are like risky, like people are like, "Are you crazy?" But it's like I've already kind of done crazier stuff than this. Why is this crazy? But then at the same time, they're like, okay, well now people are like looking at me like I'm Billy Badass. So then you
Yeah.
kind of put on, like, now you're like a different type of leadership where like, just like being a dad or whatever, something's wrong, you just look at, the parent, and if they got like a calm, cool, collect, or motivational, like whatever presentation, then everyone else kind of feeds off of that. Goes both ways, good and bad, but that's kind of like what I developed, or I learned, uh, growing up in that service.
So you kind of got into the military to get out of this bad civilian life situation, right? Or it's a happier, you look at the grass on the other side and it's greener and you get into it. And
Kind of.
I've said a few times before, like when guys get out, it's one thing you got to think of is a lot of people join the military because they're trying to get out of a bad situation in their hometown that they don't want to
Oh
go
yeah.
down this dead end road that's going nowhere. And then they spend so long in the military, which isn't real life. It's on a completely different planet.
Oh
You're
yeah.
on a different base and different laws and all this shit.
So
And then when
totally.
that time is over, and you get out, often you go back to your hometown and your problems are still waiting for you there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for me it was a little bit different because I didn't want to go in the military ever. I mean, so much like I said, I didn't even know any rank structure, never watched. I think the only military movie I watched was like Missing in Action or like the Rambos, but outside of that, like I wanted to get my degree. I'd done it was going on my second year at Northwestern and I was like states away from my wife at the time, and I was like, I just got 2 more years, let me finish. But she's the one that's like playing mom to the kids and everything like that, and struggling waitressing while I'm doing this. So that was also part of my reason for joining too. Is like I had to put my dreams or selfishness or whatever at the time and be like, hey, like military, at least have a good steady paycheck. It's honorable, it's respectable, it's service, which that was my main thing. I always just wanted to be in some type of profession that serves and great insurance, all that other stuff. So I did exactly what I didn't want to do. But again, you had Pat Tillman that threw away, millions to do it. So I had really no excuse.
Yeah, an unintended great marketing campaign by the Army, of him going to do that. Countless people signed up to do the same thing because that guy, if that guy
Yeah.
can do it, then I can too. Um, so you're at your unit going back to Iraq. What was that like? Because up until that point, you had only seen Iraq on the news, right, and heard
Yeah.
stories from your unit, and then you go. What's that like?
I think we did a really good job as far as like going like to the JRTC, NTC, and you know how they have like the movie production of like missing limbs and all that other stuff. So they did a really good job as far as like training exercises to by the time I got there, it was like, hey, it's muscle memory at this point, react to contact, all that other stuff. But I volunteered to go early because I was thinking, if I go now, I can make more money. Um, and I wasn't expecting that to be a 15-month deployment. So that made it even longer by me doing that. And like I said, my growing up not having money and then getting deployed early, I was like, hey, you guys are going to be taken care of. You can get more clothes, you can do things, blah, blah, blah. And then when you get there, you're like, hey, not play internet's still fairly new at this point. So not being able to talk to your family or, I wasn't SF at the time. So it wasn't like I could get a sat phone or call or whatever. It was just like, just miserable to where I had to like create that warrior, that guy that I kind of created back just to, so I wouldn't think about home because if I was to think about like my kids and wife, then that would take me off like the target, the objective. So I just kind of like fashioned this guy that was just like a Chuck Norris dude. Like we're gonna go here and I'm gonna save us. I mean, that was just my mentality. It wasn't like true or anything like that, but I had to like say those things because months and months and every time someone gets killed or whatever, there's blackouts, so you can't talk anyway. So it's like God, you just gotta. I basically just made it my own video game. You know.
Yeah, you disassociate, right, from your, I guess, your professional persona.
Yeah.
This is a job that I got to do every day and go do it. And, there's a chance I can be killed. So you even more disassociate when your real life, like try and put that out of your mind. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be killed. This alter ego of mine is. It's a dangerous job. It's a lot to think about. What was your guys' primary mission while you were over there?
Well, we so I was never on a tank. We that was also why I ended up going to SF because it seemed like every deployment we got, we were just like in Humvees, just doing whatever. So my company got attached to 82nd, my first deployment. So to 505. So automatically getting there, that was tough because we were armor with like, airborne unit. And these guys are all just jack dudes, just lifting up all the time. And we were just tankers who just order stuff off the gut truck. And but that was my type of lifestyle because these guys were ready to go out and, battle and that stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be like. So, that year plus of just being with those guys, I got to do some pretty cool stuff. Got to go to long range, surveillance schools, stuff like that, and got to go to airborne school. Uh, be an airborne tanker. Just basically like I was just trying to stand out, but I just was like, maybe I should be in the infantry. And we did a lot of missions, in support of like SF. So I was just like, man, this is awesome. But it was also like one of the like deadliest deployments too, like even for the 82nd and us, just people like losing all the time. And after 6 months, man, like it's already you shouldn't stay there longer than that. 8 months, 9 months, then 10, like 12, and then 15. Like it got to the point where it was like I was like, I'm like, man, I hope I get blown up today, or I hope I lose a limb or something like that. I'm pretty sure the army will fix me back up. I was like, but I just want to get out of here. I haven't seen my family. I can barely talk to them. Like, so it gets to a point where like you don't even look at the risk of stuff. You're just like, hey, whatever happens, happens. You're not even doing it for the right reasons now. You're like, hey, get down. You're like, I don't care. I hope he fucking shoots me. And like, I don't know if anybody else thought like that, but for me, like I said, when you're at the, year plus mark and you've already like survived X amount of, crazy situations, it's just like I just let me get injured so I can go back or something. Let me see what a value menu is like again, uh, just the stuff that, that America's so great, but being there like, and you don't have a day off. That's the thing. And
Yeah,
enough to where like I was always ready to get. So if people thought I was being heroic and stuff, it was like, no, I was just trying to fucking get shot, killed, or whatever, just to get out of there. Like
I'm sure
you
there's
shouldn't you
someone
shouldn't spend.
listening that can sympathize with you,
I hate saying
because
that, but I'm just
that's
being honest about it.
no, absolutely right. And then if I guarantee you, because you're there 6 months, and then you think, oh fuck, only 9 months to go.
Yeah. And then when they extended it, you're like, what? They're like,
That's sick.
I already came here early.
That's a long fucking time. That's
Yeah, I
yeah,
had like two birthdays, just everything, man. Two Super Bowls.
mm,
But
yeah. So I can imagine. Yeah, that would drag on with you, and fucking just wear on. And you just don't give a shit after a while, right? You just
and, kind of, yeah, you don't give a shit, but then you kind of like just now you've been there for so long, like that is a part of you. Like that's your life now, you know, like you're like a native to that now. So it was just weird
yeah.
to think about.
You'd been on Iraq longer than you'd been in the army in garrison.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh yeah. It's not close
Phew.
to that, yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's why I
that's
couldn't go SF when I got there because I wasn't an E4, and at that time you had to have at least 18 months in the service before you can go to selection or like volunteer or whatever. So that's how I didn't go to SF right away because I wanted to, but
oof.
I couldn't. You had to be E4, GT score 110, and 18 months in service at the time. So I was like, all right, by the
Yeah,
time I get back, I should be E4 or E5. Came back E5, and then I went to airborne school and then all these other schools, and then we're like ready to go back to another deployment. So I held off SF for that point because now I'm a E6, short in a short amount of time, and you know, my the long term thing in the regular army is like, man, I'm fucking fast tracking and I'm fucking killing it. Like I love this job. I became so good at it. And then that other deployment, I was like, it was long again, so it was more or less like I need to go to where they have shorter deployments. Now that was what I thought. Once you get an SF, you do more, uh, longer, more consistent, and sometimes long duration deployments too. But outside of that, like I didn't think I was like good enough to go to special forces. I didn't look like John Cena or like Rambo, any of these other guys. It was just like just me, just like trailer park white trash kid, just whatever that just happens to survive stuff. And I finally started believing in myself, and I was like, I got to do this because I need to be around people who believe in the same mission that I believe in. To where that self-reliant team player. Because a lot of the people were around me, not a lot of them, but it felt like they were just collecting a check. They weren't like um, as disciplined or structured the way that I felt like a soldier should be. You know.
Yes, and if you were in the regular army, you would know exactly what you're saying. And I get it. Serving your country, very noble. But you're right. There are a lot of people there just collecting a check, doing a subpar subpar job, if a job at all, and kind of just fill in a part of the battle roster, which
Yeah.
is part of the mission too. We have to have people in these billets to keep up our strength of service and things like that.
Yeah.
So way smarter people than me making those decisions. So I'm going to stay out of that decision making process. At least
Yeah.
I can keep confidential information secret. But so your views starting to change, and you want to get out, and you say I'm going to go to selection. The long deployments kind of put that off for you. But did that kind of solidify your resolve when you finally did go to selection that I gotta get the fuck out of here?
It wasn't necessarily like the long deployments because I was pretty used to it and just good at it. It was the bureaucracy of it, man, or just like the crazy set standards. I think I have more PTSD from just the bullshit as far as like, hey, be here 45 minutes prior to where you got to be at because you got to be there 15 minutes before your first line supervisor. Then you got to be there 15 minutes before your platoon sergeant. You got to be there 15 minutes before the first sergeant, just stupid shit like that. And then you could finish, day's work within the morning, but then you got to stay there till what you think would be 1700. And it's like, oh, we got to stay a little bit longer because they haven't come out of meeting. Then it's like 1930. Then you got to start that all over again. You're like, what the like just sit around time or just busy work, just a lot of that crap. And then again, um, it's things a little changed once like everybody went to like ACUs and stuff like that. But it was like boots and that like good discipline stuff and keeping your family time. So like even in garrison felt like a deployment because you were always away from your family, even though they live right there. So I hated that stuff, and I hated how like if the way that they used to make everyone look the same. Instead of like SF, we got shooter preference, what works for us because we're that. Like they had us looking like RoboCop and everything. It's like who can move in this, and it wasn't uh conducive to like what we were doing. It was more or less like everyone's trying to get a new N2ER or OER bullet to recreate something. I hated that, like, or even just going to missions. Like, we got to do presence patrols with this, and we're gonna get hit and blown up and all that other stuff. It's like where SF's like, if we're gonna go out, we're gonna make this. We're gonna have assets, QRF. We're gonna do it the right way. It's like everybody wanted to just do like tonight we're gonna do Black Ops. Why we're just going from point A to point B to refuel, but they want to make it sound like during the night we used like regular army stuff like that. Really, like I said, it did kill people. And then you didn't have that type of support that I don't know. It seemed like everybody was always fearing for their job and then trying to make it harder for someone else. So it I did have a lot of resolve because it felt like my worst day in SF was better than my best day in the regular army. You know?
Yeah, I've said that before, and that's a hot
Oh yeah,
take because I almost died on my worst day in
yeah,
SF. So it's
yeah.
just
I know
because I
it
think
is.
about it, I go that was pretty bad. I guess yeah, it's a tough comparison. It's a tough
Yeah,
comparison.
yeah.
Depends on who
It's
you
half.
ask,
Yeah, it's half
but
true, kind of full true. It depends. Yeah. Oh, yes.
yeah, I said that the other day. I went, I don't know, maybe it was winning some of those boards and getting some awards and shit in the regular army wasn't that bad, but
Yeah, like, but I
but
mean,
no, I get what there's a
that was the
monotony,
resolve.
and it'll drain you, and then when you're really, I look back, the mass punishments, those were demoralizing.
Yeah.
That really will take the sales out of a unit faster. When I'm out in Oklahoma and it's 110 degrees out on a Sunday and I'm getting yelled at that my sergeant wrecked his car into a cop car while he was drunk and it was my fault somehow.
Mhm.
That's kind of when I went, I don't know if this place is
Yeah.
really has my best interests in mind.
Lot, lots of those. Yep.
And that
And I kind of
was,
brought that mentality to SF too. Like once I got there, I was still outside of selection and stuff, but once I even got to the unit, it was like I was so rigid and stuff. And a lot of the guys were like, hey, dude, like, chill. Like, we're we'll get there when we get there. Cause I'm like driving speeding, like, oh, if we don't get there, like 15 minutes prior, like Sergeant Major's gonna flip out. He's like, he's not gonna fucking flip out, dude. Just chill. He's like, you're starting to like make me panic. And I was like, oh, I gotta unwind a little bit and just layouts and stuff like that, doing this. And they're like, dude, chill. Like, we got it. It's hard to
Yeah,
break.
relax. Fucking relax, dude. Calm down. I've had a few
Yeah.
people say that about when they came over from Ranger Regiment to group. Uh, they had to change their entire mindset of how they do
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
Um, and half our force now is X-rays, so they have no concept of how that is. For better or for worse, whatever you think about that, they don't have to deal with any of that bullshit. So command can just mold them into exactly what they want them to be once they get there.
Absolutely. And that was something that kind of went against me during like my last run or whatever. I went to team. I was a Fox, and then I became the team sergeant after team sergeant left. So I got to do the whole team sergeant time, and it was great. But majority of them were X-rays, and I was still like structured. Now I'm in charge, and there's tons of E's to choose from, but they selected me just to stay on the team, and it was awesome. And I got to do JSET, all that other stuff, and cool training with the team. But I was also I kind of went back to like regular army style. It was like, here's counseling statements, here's this. I was like, but it was for my own protection too. But to them, they didn't see it that way. Like if guys are running into like just creating damage or something like that, that could really come on me. And I'm sitting there like finally in charge, but I don't have that type of like I said, 'cause they're X-rays. So like the rest of the seasoned dudes that can be around there, kind of be like a voice of reason, aren't really there. They either went to the Q course together and they just have a different mentality. The age gap is so far. Like I'm not like really making excuses, but like with me kind of like enforcing like those old standards when I became a team sergeant kind of like backfired, and because they didn't understand like why I would do that. And they're like, well, so and so didn't do that. And so did that. Like, well, they weren't in charge and they had a little bit more clout and leniency. Like I'm like an E7 trying to prove myself on a team and, show that I belong there and do that. And first year was good. And then the second year just kind of, I don't know, not so good. And that's when I pretty much
Yeah, yeah. There's
called it
positives and
quits.
negatives to that experience, right? So,
All
and
great
that's one of
people.
them. You don't learn that administrative side of things as a private, because as a private you get counseled all the time. Oh, you're late for formation, you get some counseling. You get a new squad leader, that's the counseling. You get in trouble, all kinds of shit, right? You didn't shave, you get a counseling, all kinds of things. And I mean, I am fairly confident, and I thought about this more even after I said it the other day on the show. I don't think I've ever had a counseling, good or bad. It's just I slipped through the cracks
Yeah.
one way or another, which is wrong. That's the wrong answer if you're listening at home. I should have been counseled by somebody somewhere along the line in my 8 years. And I do have a lot of TBIs. So if you did counsel me, lesser known operators at gmail.com and refresh my memory, because I've forgotten a lot about my service. And when I got to uh, my team sergeant, fucking Jagoff, counsels myself and the other new guy together in the same room on a fucking Word document. And I still wish I had it because it was awful. The worst fucking piece of literature I've ever seen in my entire life. And I gave it to another E7 who didn't believe me. And I lost the original copy.
Oh man.
The motor sergeant, he wanted to know. He's like, "Is your team sergeant really that stupid?" I said, "I'll be right back." And I went and got my counseling and gave it to him. And he reads it and he goes, "He is that stupid. I can't believe this." Um,
Yeah.
he's the only person I'll bash on this show, though. I won't bash anybody else. Good for everybody in their careers and all that. But
Yeah.
so, what was selection like?
God, man, that was for me, it was crazy because I didn't get to watch like 2 weeks in hell and I didn't know how to train for it. Um, we did have I was at Fort Hood and they had um, where you can, the people that had already went to selection and they were on their way to go to the Q course would kind of run PT. You'd have to come there earlier though. Like they'd start at 5:30 and they would do like long rucks or log PT, a lot of that. And I just remember I was like, do I even want to do this? Because like they were killing me, but I guess they were making it harder for that training. So by the time you got to selection, it didn't seem that way. But they didn't like tell us what we were gonna do, like team events or anything. So you're just going into the unknown. And had I known, like I would have trained more grip strength and other stuff because uh, you know, that would get you on team week too. But I mean, I just had a desire to get out of the regular army so bad that it didn't matter. I was like, I'm gonna do it. Getting out there and then seeing that, I was just like, it was it was an internal like challenge because you're like, man, like I can do this. Here's the star course. Like, can I make this happen? Can I navigate this? And then also, again, it's easier for them to have X-rays because they can kind of mold them where they're at as a part to getting like some E6 that has already had like, X amount of combat time coming in there. They usually kind of think they know it all. So just kind of like, no, I don't. I was like, I'm ready to like mold me how you want. Like, and that's probably one of the greatest moments was like getting selected. I was like, I actually did it, because put it off for so long.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I remember, I know that feeling, man. When he hands you that paper, that's a hell of a feeling
Yeah,
right there.
it was wild. Yeah, it's still up there.
For me, that was the height of, because everybody suffers setbacks throughout their journey to get the beret, right?
Yeah.
And when I got hurt at selection the first time, I'd only been in the army for what, 8 months or something like that at this point. 7 months,
Yeah.
8 months. And then that's right at the beginning. So I had my setback and then get selected 8 months later. And then that was it. That was the pinnacle. I knew I was going to graduate at that point because
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm never going to let this fucking happen again. I'm never going to fail anything, and then I went straight through the course. I didn't. I was all in on everything I did all the way through the course. There
Hmm.
was nothing going to stop me. But I had
Absolutely.
already had my failure right up front, and I got it out of the way. So some guys, step on their dick,
Oh yeah.
the day before graduation or something.
God, I
So
know. Yep.
that would drive me nuts. Guys who do that, like, fuck you, yeah, fuck.
Yeah. Q course something else because I got hit with lightning when I was up there in the Q course.
I was gonna
So
say you sound like somebody who's been hit by lightning. No, I'm kidding. How That's fucked up. How does that happen? What happened?
um there's some people out there that were there that are now retired influencers, stuff like that. It was crazy because even them and being in a radius to where the lightning hit, they were electrocuted and stuff. Um, we were doing the STAR course. It was a SUT,
Okay.
and you do the STAR course. You need to do like weapons week, air week, and then the STAR course, kind of weed people out. And I remember at that time I went out there, my wife at the time had thyroid cancer, so she was getting it removed. And I opted, we both were like, hey, the setback is if you get recycled or anything like that, it's hard to get back in and then stay at the pace that you're at. And I I knew I had like a good church family and that her mom was coming down there, and if something happened, they would call me. But they're like, we made the decision like, hey, get this out of the way. That way so we can, get to Florida faster, Summit Group, because they were moving down to Florida at the time. And so I went out there and then I started kind of feeling sorry for myself because it's like raining or whatever. I got my points that night, and which we had to wait another day, because everyone to get their others. And I'm like trying to like reason with God or talk to people like, hey, like, am I making the right decision? Because I probably should be with my wife right now in Raleigh getting her thyroid taken out and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe tomorrow morning if I don't see a sign from God or anything like that, I'm gonna, V-dub in the morning. And I got, I'll go back to the regular army and, I'll kick ass there. And yeah, literally that's what I was like reasoning with. So of course you set up your hooch, like here's a big tree and a puddle next to another tree. I got nothing else. I'm like, damn, this really sucks right now. And then again, I'm like, my wife's getting surgery and I'm not there, and I got, X amount of kids too. And next thing you know, I'm waking up in the ambulance. I mean, I remember it happening because it was like a loud explosion. It was like a V-bid that I can remember, but I knew I was like safe in the States, and it was like bright white, so like it was daytime but it was night, and I couldn't move. I was getting electrocuted. It was like fire in my throat. Next was in the ambulance getting hit with epipens and everything like that and taken to the DMC to get worked on. And I was just like, it didn't really, I guess, come to me until like I guess woke up after being evaluated because I fell asleep, crashed. EKGs were kind of out of whack or whatever. But then I woke up like rejuvenated. My throat was a little, you know, blistered and stuff like that, or red and stuff like that, just from what had happened. But I started like going back on what I was saying. I was like, why was I feeling sorry for myself? Like, I feel good. I'm like, no, now I'm out of the course. Like reality hit, like, hey, you're out of the course. And I was like, oh, but I wasn't. I just got hit with lighting. But they're about to take me to the hospital, the following day to get more exams and all that other stuff. But the same guy that was there the night before, the PA or whatever, when he came in and saw like my EKGs and everything like that, I was like, can you let them accept me back? Because I hadn't seen any cadre because they're out there doing, star course and stuff like that. And sure enough, like my cadre came back in and the next day to pick me up to go take me um, to the hospital. And I was like, hey, he says I can actually go back to training. Like, and there he was like, what? And the guy was like, yeah, I hadn't seen anything like this before, but I'll I'll write off that he's good to go. And that cadre ended up like being, not on my team, but in my company later down the road. But what was funny is he was like, yeah, he goes, come. He was happy for me to come back, and he told me that they took everyone's like, rubber ducks away from them and had to put them in a separate area just so nobody can get electrocuted or anything like that. And so he's like, you'll come back there, and he goes, and you can just, you already got your points, so you'll just guard them or whatever. And then we're walking to the van. I was like, hey, uh, sorry, can I use your phone and call my wife because she just had surgery last night. So like around the time I was getting hit with lightning, I was like, can I call to check on her or anything like that? And he's like, no. And then right then in my head, I was like, well, fuck, I'm just gonna quit. This is bullshit. But before I can like get so amped up, he was like, no, because you'll quit. He goes, you'll talk to mama, you'll start feeling bad, and as soon as you hear a voice, then you're gonna go. He goes, you literally just survived lightning. He goes, I think you should probably come back out there. And I was like, all right, yeah, he's right. Went out there and everybody was just shocked to see me and stuff like that. And in SUT, you make like your little guide-ons and stuff. Ours was like a big lightning bolt and all that other stuff. It was just so wild, man.
Fuck,
And
that's
then and then
crazy.
yeah, and then came back and had twins, so worked out.
Fuck yeah, man. And you said that that cadre ended up being in your company, and did you have a talk with him later on down the road about that, like reminiscing and how different things would have been if he'd have given you his phone?
No, I don't think I ever did, but we had talked about, he's a guy that got hit with lightning type deal. And it was because that wasn't even the other time, at Sear, I fell off the top of the silo thing, man, and like busted my eye and back and had to like just keep going until it was done. And then after we were done, then I went and got seen and turned out like I'd fractured my T11, T12, and then it kind of was already fusing together. But I was like, damn. So that was always there too, because like as soon as because you gotta climb up there, and I got dropped. I was like the last guy. And then it was like I knew something was wrong, but I was like, man, we just finally got to the part where we're about to go into Sear, like actual Sear, like the last week. And of course I had to go to the TMC because they had to stitch me up because my eye was sliced open. And I was like, please tell them that I'm good to go. And I was just trying to avoid my back. I was like, I didn't want them to even talk about my back. And then push through. And then I was like, if I can make it through, then I'll go get seen. And when I got seen, and that's when that fracture was there, and it was already fusing together. And they're like, how you feeling? I was like, I'm feeling it. I was like, but now on to MOS phase. I was just happy that I'd done it, man. But it was wild.
When you're going through the course, there's unless you're like dead, if you got the mindset to get through it,
Yeah.
you'll sacrifice your years off your life just to not get recycled.
And I'm thinking about that now. I'm like, man, I'm feeling that. Uh, but yeah, that was
I
great time.
Yeah, mine don't compare to that. I didn't get hit by lightning or break my back or anything like that, but I come out of
Well, it mainly
so
like
they
hit.
didn't.
I was at the base, hit the tree, and I was like getting electrocuted by like wallet, and anybody within a 10-meter radius was getting electrocuted. So it was pretty wild.
Well, that's close enough. We'll call it close
Yeah,
enough. I mean,
it's
it's
close. Yeah,
no the great outdoors with John Candy where that guy
no,
keeps
yeah.
getting hit by
At least,
lightning
yeah,
six
that
sixty
that
seven times.
that I know of. So, but I just try not to give it too much. Like, oh, I was this, but it was like, fuck, whatever it was. You'll just, yeah, lose it.
I'm trying to remember because stuff will happen in the Q course or in wherever phase, and then it'll become legend. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this remember this guy got hit by lightning, or a student died from a snake bite once, and it became
Right.
a legend. Well, a lot of those things are true, and they just get distorted off the line. So, I wonder what that legend of your legend is now. Of like, oh fuck, we can't do this because some dipshit got hit by lightning once in
Uh,
2010 or some shit like that, right?
yeah, something like that. Because it's funny when because I do other podcasts and other things, and people we'll talk about the lightning really quick, and then you'll see comments under there, and somebody that I hadn't saw for like 10 years ago would be like, I was there at that FTX when it happened, or other guys that I still talk about, like, do you remember that? And they're like, yeah, dude, I was electrocuted too. But yeah, I always wonder like the same thing, like do people don't do the certain type of training because of that? And at that point, like, how did that happen just to me when you had all these other years of that shit happening? Not happening, but like to change the way that, hey, we're not having rubber ducks anymore while it's lightning and doing all this other stuff. Like, I hope
Yeah.
it wasn't, I
Uh,
hope I didn't ruin it for other people, is what I'm getting at.
yeah. The course it changes every so often, and whether they're trying to or not, it gets easier or it gets harder. There's no like baseline. It goes above and below all the time, but it just
Yeah.
fluctuates on that. So, like you did the star um, in SUT, where it was at the beginning of the course for me in Introduction to Unconventional Warfare
Oh
at
yeah.
the NT. We did it on the north side of Bragg.
Yeah. We did that too. So when we had to
Okay.
do it at SUT, I was just like, I did not know I was gonna have to do this again. 'Cause I was just used to doing it like pretty much every gate phase. Like we were always doing some type of star. It just wasn't as the actual selection star course. So then at SUT, I was just like, oh, here we go again.
That was that was the hardest day of the course for me. It wasn't the hardest like whole thing. That was just the hardest day because they're like, if you get five, you can go home. Well, there's a fucking hurricane or some shit coming in the next day. And so
Oh,
everybody tried to get five. And out of I hope I'm not giving anything away with this, but there was a few hundred of us out there. 50 dudes got all five. And as we're
sorry.
pulling out on the bus, just the nastiest black clouds, and like 30 dudes that next night passed or some shit like that because they got
Wow.
shit on all night from the time we left, which was like noon, up until the end of that second night of land nav. It rained straight up and down, pissing on them all night. And like,
Holy
nobody
smokes.
that's I think back on that. I'm like, man, would I have gotten my three or
Right.
whatever? Because we had ideal conditions the night before, so I was all in. Fucking, I want to get the fuck out of here.
Right. That's
But
motivation, right?
you'll that's the whole course, right? Is you find no matter we're tough and we're capable and everything, but we find the lazy way to get through the stuff. Like, oh yeah, I could do 2 nights, but if I try really hard one night, I don't have to do the second night. And that was like the course, I'm going to
Yeah.
find the easy way to do things. I'm not going to cheat, but I'm going to find the easiest way to get through this and still make it through.
That's how
But
desperate you are for some like free time.
yeah. And then I talk about like the injuries and stuff. We had to go be the guerrilla force in Robin Sage when we
Oh
first got
yeah.
to the course. And we're coming out of the field and my tooth starts to hurt. And I go to the off post dentist because I already had a plan in my mind. I'm like, I'm not getting recycled. Uh, and he's like, okay, well, if we do this, you can come back later for a root canal. I was like, no, pull that motherfucker. I'm not recycling. So I can get a tooth fixed. I was like, pull that motherfucker. So
Uh, yeah.
to not get recycled, I had him pull a tooth.
Yep.
Nobody advised me. I was like, I'm not, no, fuck it. I'm going to SUT on Monday. Pull a
Yeah.
tooth. I cut my pinky off to go to SUT on Monday. And that's
Hmm.
the mentality of guys going through the course. Anything to not disrupt the streak I'm on. It's crazy.
Exactly. No, it is.
Oh, what MOS did you end up being when you went through?
Echo. 18 Echo.
Oh, okay. So usable
Yeah.
skills. Did that serve
Yeah.
you well at all once you got out in your later life?
Um, no, not necessarily. Well, because then when I became a Fox, that's when those were like in the Intel stuff. And then that I used more of that in actual life, but antennas, ABCs, antennas, batteries, and connections. Like, so maybe it took away that, like, something happens. But even being an Echo, a lot of the times, like, everyone, you really don't fix things. It's just like it happens to work when you finally actually touch it. But so it's like you come there and like maybe hit like a cable, and now it's like, hey, you're back on. Great. He saved our lives. So like, all I did was just touch the cable, like just by chance luck. So I guess maybe in those aspects, I could say that I've
We
used
had
it.
this great commo guy attached to us um, at first group, Brandon Delaplane. Shout out to Brandon. He's the best 25 series ever. And he'd come in and fix something. I'd go, "What'd you do?" He'd go, "I didn't fucking do anything, man. I just unplugged it and plugged it back in." It's like, yeah, man, fucking good job.
Yeah.
Then that's most of the Echo shot. Hey, this shit ain't
Yeah.
working. Oh fuck, let me power
Giving away the
cycle this
secrets.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking the secrets to being an 18 Echo. And
Yeah.
then with your guys' job, right? Everything that you learned doesn't exist anymore when you went through the course. It's not even.
Yeah. You're right. A lot of it. Um, we were still like using emitters and stuff like that for the like for team stuff, and then in the vehicles, SATCOM and stuff. But that changed. Uh, I mean, it was already changing. It just didn't kind of catch up to us yet. And then finally, they were using different. Uh, this is when I was glad I wasn't an Echo anymore, because we had to send like all the Echoes to get like retraining like on these new platforms. And I was like, oh God, like thank God I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, technology, and it's always evolving. It's always I'm always wrong.
Oh
No matter
God.
I learn something, and I'm always wrong the next day. But
Yep.
was there any point in the Q course where you had doubts whether you were going to make it to graduation?
A lot, man. Especially like after the lightning falling down. I actually, well, made it all the way. I got recycled in SUT once, and it was the last week I got injured my back because some cadre was playing fuck games with us out there, with all the weight and all that other stuff, and making us do IMT drills with them on and stuff like that. And I guess you can do that, but it's totally unnecessary. Like even later on down the road, I was like, that was not good for anybody. And I ended up getting hurt. And again, that was tough because then trying to come back and train, I strained my Achilles, but you still got to keep training and like just doing whatever you can. So I'm like, I wonder if I'm actually going to make this. And that was also what kind of led me um, to making that decision going out while my wife had cancer, was because, yeah, like I already got recycled once because someone was playing fuck games. And it took me, I probably wasn't recovered after that, but I just like made it to the next, class to go and, pass the gates. But I was doing it like, as a broke dude. And so during that time, I was just like, man, it's so far away. And I was going to be a Delta. So then after we were done with SUT, we can go to MOS. I was like, man, I don't want to be here another year. I was like, so I talked to the cadre if I could switch. And they're like, if you pass here, then we'll look into it. And a lot of that was I was looking for post military jobs, and Echo to me like you learn how to network and computers, build them, and all that other stuff. So it made sense. But yeah, I definitely was always like, what's going on? Like, am I gonna make it? Is this gonna happen? I got an injury. This happens. Like, oh, and you see other people dropping too that were like maybe in better condition than you were, and you're like, oh God, like I just gotta suck it up and drive
Yeah,
on,
that's a big
drink
mind
water.
fuck in the course. Is people just start dropping off. You go, that was dude was a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's gone. Fuck him. You got to just put it out of your mind and drive
Uh-huh.
on and then
Yeah.
continue and be like, well, he wasn't meant to make it. It's my turn. I got to just keep my head down, not get in trouble, not get a DUI, not torpedo my career, and go on
Yeah.
here. And yeah, that was a
Absolutely.
that was an interesting part of the course. Is guys would just drop off, and they'd be their own fault, or they'd sabotage their careers to get out of there. But
Yeah.
um, do
Definitely.
you thinking back? Did you make the right decision switching from 18 Delta to 18 Echo?
Yeah. I mean, it all kind of worked out for me. Like I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I was a pretty good, good Echo, and that that kind of allowed me to shine a little bit to where I was able to, become a Fox because of just what they taught me and just and when we Afghanistan, just stuff like that, just that skill set. Like I thought it was a good decision. I mean, still like Delta's every job is freaking doesn't matter. Like SF, you're a badass dude. But for that, I was like, yeah, I made a good decision.
Yeah, we're all, well, in our own minds, we're all badasses, right? Some more badass than the other. And then you get to group and you realize, because you senior staff sergeant when you get to group, right?
Yeah, so I became a senior right away.
Yeah. Well,
Got on a
how
team that
was
didn't have
that?
it.
How,
Um, it I kind of took on the role as if I'd been there for 10 years already. And then just had some good mentors and just kind of like followed their lead. Like, hey, if they're telling me I'm doing something good or telling me what to do, I'm going to listen. And that kind of worked out for me.
no.
But I wish I could have had like some other seasoned guy above me. Like I said, remember I said earlier, I was so rigid and this. So coming there, of course, a team sergeant's going to love that. A guy that's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be here early. I'm going to stay here late. I'm going to do all the other stuff. But it wears in the family and also on the team. The other team guys are like, if I would have had a senior be like, dude, chill, calm. But I was already in like a leadership role to where it was like, hey, if this doesn't work and this, my junior fails, like then it's on me. And then it's on the team sergeant. So I never wanted to bring reproach to any of those people. So I felt like the regular army pressure was still there, even though I was in SF, because we had just started 4th Battalion, which was it wasn't like a Jedburgh thing at the time. It was a combat unit. So it was we had first, second, third, now fourth, and that's how I ended up being a senior over there because I was going to first, but they needed people in fourth, and it gave me opportunity to like do some pretty cool schools and stuff like that, and that to help the company overall. So it was a great experience. So if I wouldn't have been in that senior role there, I don't know if I would have been able to that fast in other companies. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like there's no cookie cutter experience in SF.
No.
Everything is completely different. You can go to the same team, two different people, and have a completely different career. And there's nothing going to be like after a couple of years, you might be in different battalions or things like that, or different schools, and you might not never
Mhm.
see each other. So it's just crazy.
That's
And
true.
yeah, sometimes your path, because of the op tempo and the schools and all this shit you get sent to do, you miss out on seeing how to do things from your seniors level,
Yep.
um, and learn how to do things. Or you get put into a role and say, "Hey, I know you might not be qualified for this, but you're going to have to figure it out because I'm telling you to."
Yeah.
But we're expected to, right? We're supposed to be the best of the
That's me.
best, or
Yeah.
the best of the basics, right? And
Yeah.
just an interesting thing that how often. What was the op tempo like? Were you just go 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 from the moment you got to group?
Yeah, it was. And mainly because we were getting all new equipment and everything, because we just had brand new compound in, Florida. So this whole battalion's like empty, bare bones. So like we're filling these team rooms with like lockers, everything, just restructuring. So it was just like being in the regular army, just like a lot of long nights and still doing like inventories. I was like, I went from the regular army to the regular army, just SF version. And it wasn't until they like disbanded the 4th Battalion after we came back from the combat deployment, they turned the Jedburghs and stuff to where when I went to another battalion, I finally got to see like what the other SF tempo was actually like. And it was more relaxed and slow, wasn't like a brand new battalion trying to make a name for itself and then go to combat for the first time. And then all these brand new people from the Q course coming in where you just kind of create it. But it's a great time.
Fuck, it's indescribable to people who weren't there.
Yeah.
It's just constant go. What compare regular army combat deployment now to on an ODA combat deployment? What's the big differences there?
The discipline. And like I said, if us planning our missions as opposed to like, we're just going to go out and do this just to do it, you know, it's like, hey, we're going to go out. We already, you planned every contingency, And the regular army just didn't ever feel like that. It was just like, hey, we're doing this because this lieutenant wants to get, I don't know, make himself look like he's, Captain America, and whereas like in SF, like, you're a team leader who's already been like company commander. It's like, yeah, let's think about this and his experience. Like, we're gonna go out if we have area assets, we got this, they're gonna queue on that, we're gonna do this, we're gonna take over this house, we're gonna be up here. Like, should we do that? Maybe not now. Let's maybe wait a couple days to where this happens. Like until like everyone's planning like it'll be better if you do it this way, as opposed to just go out there and like fuck shit up. At least that's the way it
Yeah.
was. It was very strategic. And that's what I liked about SF.
How long did you do on that trip?
For this it was a 6 month trip
Yeah. So
for
slightly
Afghanistan.
long
Yeah.
or slightly shorter deployments.
Yeah.
Get away from that
Yeah.
15th month rip. That's
Yeah.
fucking brutal.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I was actually able to do some college while I was there too, so it was nice. Finished, got my associates while I was there, so it was
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
good. Yeah, man.
Well,
Yeah, whereas that was the thing in the regular army, they wouldn't allow you like if you had downtime, like no, you better be in the motor pool, QA QC and stuff. But like in
oh
SF, it's
God.
like, hey, are you working on something? Like, hey, why don't you work on school? I'm like, really? Like, it was just weird to not always have to be engaged, like in some type of stupid stuff, inspection or whatever. It's like, hey, we got this, and then you know, what are you guys going to do the rest of the day? We've already done this. Like, hey, take the rest of the day and just chill in your hooch or whatever. I'm like, what? I can get on the internet? Stuff like that. Sounds
Yeah, you're
stupid, but it
expected
was
to be
like,
an
man,
adult, right?
it was just weird. Yeah, I was like, we're allowed to? Yeah, everybody's playing video games in the op center if you guys want to come. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, it was weird, but a good experience.
So, had you been blown up before at this point?
Yeah, lots of
Rocked.
times.
When did you start to notice these injuries from the past start to creep up? Because they
Um,
obviously started creeping up on you when you were at seventh group.
yeah, they were already creeping up, especially like my second deployment of the regular army, because we were gone for so long, the first one, and then I had to get again when we came back in 2007. That's where I even had to have a waiver to stay, even where I was at, not just go to SF. And but the thing is, I don't think I listened to my body so much. It was just like, oh, this hurts and I'm going, or this happens. It's just like, oh, it's probably because whatever. The more residual and older I got and the better I took care of my body, that's when I was like, wait, I'm pretty healthy. I'm doing this. Like, why is my vision going out? Or why am I thinking like this? Why am I like so hyper vigilant? And I was like, I probably always felt this way. It's just I'm starting to notice now.
And when you mean you had a waiver, what did you have to specifically get a waiver for?
The neurologist had to, as long as that I was still going to like occupational therapy, speech therapy, and all that other stuff, I'd be able to like for like cognitive stuff, like hand-eye coordination, movement. I could still think, do things like that. Um, and the brain heals itself, like maybe not like neural pathways and whatever, but neurons, but like the brain itself. So like that was the way where it's like, hey, we did a scan, it started to look better. He can still, push forward.
Hmm. So we got that waiver. We go to selection, and we're deploying to combat again.
Mhm.
What's starting? Is it starting to get worse and worse?
Yeah. And mainly, I guess it's because of the op tempo. And now we're doing different things. Like now I have different skill sets, you know, whether I'm like, doing surveillance one day or some other type of work the other day. I'm not just focused on combat stuff. Now I'm like a diplomat one day. Then the other day I'm, you know, hiding and doing other stuff, level two stuff or technical stuff. You know what I
Secret,
mean? Yeah. Yeah.
secret scroll stuff.
Yeah. That was like
Um,
the pathway that I was lucky to get on when most people they send me to range school and all that other stuff. I went there, they sent me to all the cool uh schools
yeah,
that
your
that I
career in
could use today.
SF,
Yeah.
it kind of has two paths it can go: direct action, all the shit you see in the movies, or kind of the intel side of things, not really depicted correctly in the movies, but more,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
More of that.
gathering things, and you're getting the information together for the mission and things like that. So there's two different roles your career can go. Sometimes you do both. There's special units for that and things like that.
Mhm.
But what were you starting to notice? Like your cognitive ability to hold on to information and process things? Because I know,
Uh,
sometimes I
Absolutely.
even have trouble like reading on a piece of paper. I'll
It was
just say, fuck it,
rough.
I'll get an audio book.
And like being able to talk and like I I know what I want to say, but it comes out like there's road bumps because of, I'm just I always knew that, or I stutter, and maybe people don't notice it, but I notice it, and then like getting jumbled. But really, I'm sounding professional, but it's just like a mind fuck in there. I'm like, why am I thinking like this, and why is it so hard to say spoon? I'm like, hey, give me the concave cylindrical object that can feed me. Oh, the spoon, just stuff like that. I was like, fuck, this sucks. And then just doing things and realize or planning stuff and realizing that you'd already did it. So like I'm like, what? I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this Saturday, Sunday, blah blah blah. And they're like, wait, we did that 2 days ago. I'm like, we did? Where the fuck was I? I was the main effort. It was just like this is really getting bad.
Skipping, right? You're skipping through time.
Hmm.
But we'll just push through. When did it become too much to push through?
Um, Man, it probably about a year or two even before I thought about getting out. I'd went to I wasn't feeling normal like myself, but I was in the best shape ever. uh I attempted to go to pre-dive. I was like, I was gonna go to a dive team. And then during that whole time, like I just didn't feel like myself. I'm like, something's going on. I'm like, I'm not normal. Like I know I look normal and things are like I'm crushing it. I was like, but I'm my eyes are messing with my head. I'm feeling so much pressure. I'm dissociated, just like I'm like something's wrong with me. And I would keep going to the clinic and be like, what is up? We do labs and everything, and they would just say, like, hey, no, this is just your TBI. It's just your TBI, it's just your TBI. And then that's where I learned a little bit later that, the PTSD side of unprocessed trauma, like was adding to a lot of the other stuff because like you're treating these other symptoms but like avoiding these other things that kind of work together. And and it would just sucks because I was I was doing so good in SF anyway, so I kept pushing through, pushing through. Um, I mean, hell, like I said, I got to be a team sergeant. So I was like, I can't like just stop and go to treatment or admit this, you know what I mean? Because like you get back from a deployment or wherever you go, you just want to see your family. So when you have to do your post-deployment health assessment, you're just like, I'm good. I know what I did. I trained to do it and I'm ready to go. And it was just catching up because you're just trying to do the next cool thing. Hey, I got to do this, this, this because there might be a Halo slot I can go to, or do this, this, this. And man, it was a great career, but it took so much of it made like a negative impact on my family, like just gone so much, not seeing them, coming in a little bit, and then again just being hyper vigilant because you're the surveillance guy, and you come home, you're like, hey, I noticed this car is coming down here and I never seen it. Now I'm gonna go out there and like then you're like doing perimeter checks and just just couldn't turn it off ever. And when I thought I did, it's it wasn't. It was still just a little bit. It was a huge turn off. Like when I would turn it off, like okay, I'm at 50%, but to someone else, my 50% was still like 100 or 200.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's
always
when I
on edge.
realized, yeah, I was like, damn, this is crazy because I feel like I'm never I don't have any peace because whether I'm coming home or this, I'm still using the same things that I'm being taught and trained to look at, do, and yeah, I just because I'm obsessive about anything I do anyways. So like when I learn it, like I live it, like embrace it. But then just using that like on everything, like my kids couldn't really enjoy stuff because they'd like start a Facebook and then be like, look, here I'm at Essen school. I'm like, why did you put that location? Now somebody can find you if they want to, just weird shit like that. Meanwhile, they're just like little kids. And you're just trying to teach them OPSEC. And then I'm like, man, I'm like, so I wanted to just stay at work more. So I would just stay in the team room as long as I could and just planning and doing other stuff because I would come home and it would it would just suck, you know?
Yeah, walking around the company area, you can tell who has some sort of issue, right? The lights are still on in the offices, and there's guys, cars are still in the parking lot. You can,
Hmm.
everybody knows whose everybody's cars is at the end of the day. And I think a sergeant major told me that once. He's like, you walk around the parking lot here at night, you can see who's having problems at home or stuff, and talk
Hmm.
to them. And I was like, that's fucking wise shit right there, because he's like, yeah, I know who everybody's car is,
Yeah,
and you can tell, and you can talk to him and see what's going on. It's like that's some sergeant major shit right there. That's good
that's a
stuff.
good sergeant major
But
right there. Yeah,
you sacrifice a lot for this job, and it's not
absolutely.
just you. As I had interviewed a Gold Star spouse. Sometimes you sacrifice your family's lives too, and your family's
Yeah.
well-being and mental health, and it doesn't work out. You torpedo the life, or God forbid you pass away, and you just keep doing it. And I put out
Yep.
this reel today. I sat down with a police officer, and I asked him. I said a couple things. I was like, "How's this compare to yours?" And he's like, "It's exactly the same. You can't say no to anything for fear of not being able to do it next time, or they won't ask you next time, or
Yes.
you won't say
I
no to
forgot about
something
that.
because what if you're not there and something goes bad, something goes sideways, and
Yeah.
you don't want to let the team down. That's you don't want to have survivor's guilt, so you won't say no because of that fact. You just will
Dude.
not accept your mental health or your well-being needs to be taken care of just because of all these external factors, and you'll fuck
I
yourself
know.
up.
Yeah. My ex, because I obviously we ended up getting divorced later. Some of those things are kind of like were huge things like, she had a miscarriage instead of me being there, I'm in the team room, I'm doing this or whatever. Even though like my team sergeants or everybody like knew, like, but they weren't like, hey, go be with your family. It was more or less like, hey, I can't let anybody go because Sergeant Major, like, and then later they find out, hey, you should have let him go. But meanwhile, now Mama thinks that you don't love her because you chose work over that. But I was already conditioned to being like that. It's like, especially in the regular army, it's like, hey, I have to be here. I have to do this, because if not, I won't get the opportunity to do this and whatever. Just I don't know, trial and error, make the most of it and just I guess you don't really realize it until like later and you're sitting back, you're like, and let's say a divorce, you're like, where did we go wrong? Like, I thought this was awesome. It's like, well, you weren't ever here. So like, I'm like, but when I was there because that's all I thought about. But wasn't until I became like a single dad where I was like, oh shit, this sucks. Like she actually put up with this longer than I probably would have put up with it, doing everything on your own, little kids, 7 kids. So it's like, it doesn't matter how much money you have or security or whatever, like you need a partner, you need help, or at least just someone to kind of balance uh just your own psyche, and so but you don't really think about it until you're in that spot.
Yeah, perspective, right? Because we're living this life, and it's our whole personality. The team life is all encompassing. You have to give everything for it for that next level, for that next mission, training opportunity for the team, and you
Yep.
don't realize what is going on with the other people that are in your life, the ones that are hopefully going to be there after your military life is over, because it will end. No matter how much we deny that it will, team time will end. And maybe you get to take a team, and that's only going to be 18 months. Maybe you get to take a company. That's also only going to be 18 months.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, you're going to be at a desk. Uh, but
Yeah.
it will end, and then we kind of sacrifice our relationships for just that little bit extra, more time with the team, more time, things like that. And we
Yeah,
don't realize it till later.
absolutely. But so it was around that time, like going back to where I was noticing things, I knew like the time was about to come. And I was submitting my warrant packet and uh it was like, hey, you might have the chance to go to, the warrant course in July or whatever. And my wife was like, I'm done with this, whatever. And I was like, well, I was like, I'm only gonna make things worse because I was already struggling as it was, like just to keep not necessarily keep the op tempo, but like keep family life, together because I was still just trying to strive and achieve. What's the next accolade? What's this? And that's when I was like, okay, let me keep my family together. And that's when I was like, finally, I'll get med retired. I was like, I put it off long enough. I was like, I can't keep going, and it's not really worth it anymore because now I'm not like happy about anything, just so numb. And so then that's when I decided to get out and get start a new life, and then go to school, get a degree, whatever it was, just to change paths and be with the family like full time. But that didn't happen.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, yeah,
Well,
because you got to
I
find something else too when you get out, right? You got to find
well
another thing.
well that was the thing. And again, so then I went back to that fucking warrior dude. I moved back to Arizona, go to Arizona State, and you watch Napoleon Dynamite, Uncle Rico. If I could just go back in time, like we to take state. Here I am, like 34 years old. I was like, man, if I would have went back in time, like what would have been like to go to a Division I school and wrestle or do any of that other stuff. And I was like, well, I was on Team USA for cadets as a kid, and I was a Green Beret. I was like, maybe I can be like a practice dummy or mop the floors. Like I just want to be a part of the program. Then just happen to network, and then uh, I get an opportunity to like be part of the wrestling program at my age, and then as like a mentor coach. And then they were like, well, we already have four coaches, and two of them are silver medalists. And they're like, why don't you just walk on? Like I'm 34. They're like, well, Randy Couture was in the army, and there's a loophole, kind of like when Mormons are they graduate, they go on their mission, they freeze their eligibility because the max age is 25. So I guess with service too, like they freeze your eligibility. So on paper, I was 19, not 34. And they gave me obviously the trial. They knew I wasn't going anywhere, and made history by becoming the oldest D1 athlete. You know, so so I went from could have just going to school, but instead now I'm a student athlete and a dad and doing this. So I'm like, I'm going to practice. I'm leaving at 5 to get to, practice by 7. I go to school, do my internship, go to practice, come home around 7, 8, and then just keep repeating it. And did that the first year, then the second year. And then in summers you don't have off either. Like you're still training there. They give you like per diem and stuff too. Like I remember being like Christmas Eve and or like New Year's Eve and stuff, and we get a little small check for being there, obviously. But these kids are like 19 to 23, like. But for a 34-year-old, or 35 at the time, like, well, it's like she goes, "Aren't you just happy to be home? Like, are you always trying to do things to get away from us?" But I'm like, who would turn this down? Like, this is a lifelong dream I got to live. I'm like, this is like 11-year-old Roman's dream. And then I get to do it this time. So it's like I still got rewarded later in life because timing's everything, I guess. And yeah, so it went from crazy op tempo in the military to crazy op tempo wrestling Division I level at my age because it was unheard of, it hadn't been done before. But it was just like, of course, I would do that and sacrifice, family for what I thought was
Wow.
greatness, to inspire people. Because that's really what I was just trying to do is inspire others.
Why do you think so many of us try to inspire other people to be great, to be the best of them version of themselves? There's a lot of guys that get out, just they do that. They're like, I just want other people to believe in themselves.
I think it's I think all of us have that purpose of wanting to serve and do great. And some of us just are able to do it more than others. And you feel like, hey, man, if I could teach them some resiliency or reinforce what they already know, they could be the best versions of themselves. Not necessarily like, hey, be like me, but like be like you, but try this formula and see if it works. It's because our mission set changed. We're not, our purpose is the same, but our mission is different. I'm not on the team, but I still have that same purpose. So what mission do I have now? Oh, hey, you're a counselor. All right, I'm going to do this. Hey, change flavor again. Hey, I'm on this wrestling team. Purpose, serve another. Like, but the mission. Let me inspire. Let me do this. Let me be the best partner I can be. And then we're just it just comes with a lot of trauma, I guess. You're just always, like I said, strive and achieve, and then um, because in the end, like if you can keep going and you have those goals, it, you're gonna make it through. It's the times where you like finally lose hope and don't have any goals is when most people kind of, punch out. And
Yeah.
because we're so close to that, struggling with that all the time ourselves, like that's the last thing we want. And we're like, so we pretty much just sacrifice ourselves to do that, but also taxing ourselves at the same time. At least that's what I think.
Yeah. We create our own stress also, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we get out, because civilian life is rather mundane. And then you
Yeah.
try and find ways to keep that stress in your life.
Yeah.
And
Like trying to
sometimes
walk.
that's to your own detriment. But
It was. Yeah.
for the folks listening at home, I only wrestled through high school. And then when I was a little kid, I wrestled, and then I
Oh,
got to high
nice.
school, and I
Oh,
only
yeah.
wrestled through junior year. Maybe it was a mistake not wrestling senior year. I don't know. I know how everybody that I was up against my junior year finished my senior year, so I have a feeling I would have done okay, but that's over now. So, for those listening at home, wrestling is the fucking hardest sport to
Yeah.
train for and be proficient at. It's, or for the collegiate sports, right? Because it's combat.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
are fighting against one on one with somebody else. When you get out, there's MMA and there's judo and all this other shit, Brazilian jiu jitsu. But at the collegiate level, wrestling. And these guys talk about fantastic athletes. So you're 35, right? How
Eventually, yeah.
hard are you having to train to keep up with 19-year-old kids?
The same way that I was trying to get through the Q or selection Q course, like I'm gonna do this regardless. And always like being the first one there, last one to leave. Like I set that example, but really I was the first one there so I could stretch out and warm up like my hips and joints and back before everyone got there so I could just make it through practice. Then afterwards, like the recovery, like, oh God, like what was that? But because everyone looks at you like you're fucking normal and good to keep going, but not realizing like recovery's different at 35. You already have prior issues, and like I had to get cleared by so many specialists and everything just to even go on to the team, just because the brain and everything like that. But they felt like physical activity is the best thing for like hand-eye coordination, all other stuff, and it's true. I fully believe that. And but the body doesn't recover that fast, and these guys can go like, you want to see how tough you are, pick a fight with a 19-year-old. They have so much freaking energy and don't feel anything. You know what I mean? That's what I kind of mentioned earlier. I was like, I started to notice things probably when I got older because I started to notice. Before I'm just like not. So I probably already felt pain or weird stuff, but just blocked it out because you're just full of testosterone and moving forward. But it was tough, man, because it's like I was on the team with, you know, all Americans, national champions, Zee Valencia, Tanner Hall, like it, the list goes on. But so I knew I was never probably going to be a national champion, but I knew I'd be a good teammate, and they're not going to come to my level. They're going to force me to raise to their level. And that's what I liked about it. It was saying like being an SF, like I'm not as skilled as these other guys, but I'll watch and try to get to like where they're at. And maybe that's for the inspiration of trying to inspire others, is because I was inspired by so many others to get the things that I dreamt of. And you just kind of want other people to have that type of feeling too.
Imagine the young guy's perspective, though, too. If you're
Oh
in
yeah.
there outworking them and
Oh.
they go, God, I can't let this fucking happen.
Well, they never treated me like the old guy. They did a documentary during that whole time. They followed me for like a year. I didn't know I was going to actually start because there's 40 guys on the team, but only 10, starters. And so I knew like my job was just to make sure like we bring home like some type of gold or something like that. Maybe not me, but those guys. And it's funny, like in the documentary, Cordell Norfleet, who's an All-American, um, he talks about, he goes, when this guy showed up, he goes, I thought he was like a granddad. I didn't even know why he was on the team. And it's funny because I never knew that their perspective. I just tried to blend in, like I still look young, I can make this happen, not realizing that they thought I was old as hell, even though they didn't treat me that way. But we've developed such a good relationship to where it was with all the athletes. That's why I thought I just was with them, blended in with them. Because whether if we were doing like a Bible study before practice, or if we were, you know, going out to eat or doing schoolwork, it was just like they never made me feel any different. But then like when they did that, I didn't know they interviewed a lot of those guys, but they were talking about what it was like being on a team with me, and I was like, that's funny because I can only imagine what they were thinking. In my head, I'm like, I'm just trying to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's trippy. Especially, yeah, fucking, I mean, it's a big difference. And you start thinking about that fucking, and you've already done 3 lifetimes worth of shit prior to any of this.
Yeah,
And now
and
you're trying to do this.
that was the athletic director's mission plan about that. He was like, this guy knows how to move through life, so I want him to be around these other guys who, because yeah, we touched on earlier, like once you get out of college or whatever, there's maybe judo, MMA, something like that for like combative sports like wrestling, but like even just any athlete, they're used to getting pampered throughout, especially at a D1 school. You get breakfast, lunch, like you get all the good stuff. They do your laundry, you get nice swag, and then when you get out, you got to do your entry level, and then you're not getting pampered anymore. Nobody cares that you went to this school or you were at that. They're like, so the ego goes, and sometimes people flounder out. Where the transition is what I mean. It's very tough. So me being on that team was for me kind of like to share like my life experiences. Plus, I had 7 kids, so I'm like, hey, this is how I'm managing life, and I thought I was managing it best. Um, out, outside of just being there, I spent so much time doing other stuff that I wasn't actually uh, being at home because it was just training all the time, But it's that was the game plan, was just to try to set the example of like what you're going to do after you graduate. Hey, start from the bottom, show up, just do whatever, and earn your spot.
Did they ever have you stand up there and talk to the student body about everything you'd been through for, or you're just one of the students?
No, yeah, I got to do that a lot. And be, once, once like I kind of got um, known because an article came out about me, like, hey, 34-year-old former Green Beret walks on Arizona State University. So then it became like, now I'm doing speaking engagements. Now I'm talking to student body. Now I'm helping with transitioning. And in 2018 through 2020, we didn't have like the NIL, like name, image, likeness. So I wasn't allowed to do some of the like I did a speaking engagement, or I was working with Grunt Style. The NCAA like would send emails to like my coaches and be like, he needs to take this down. He can't be doing this, because you couldn't. Like at that time, there wasn't no like you wouldn't see like a college athlete's face on a billboard or anything like that. So the fact that I was doing it, I was just doing it because I'm older and I'm not kind of realizing. I was like, well, fuck. I'm like, I'm just, but I was still active as far as like eligibility, and I could have lost it by pursuing like working with Grunt Style and all these other things. And that's where I started to write the book at the same time, because they were filming, USA Today was filming the documentary on me, and I was always like doing peer-to-peer counseling work with others, and then doing speaking engagements. I would go there and they'd be like, hey, don't you have like any swag or anything, like a book to sell? And that's like I talked earlier, I was like, well, I want to write a book because it's not over yet. So that's when I did the mental health workbook. Huh. Idea. It came from that because I knew that I would still be doing speaking to student body, whether they're veterans or athletes, just helping them transition, and just kind of dealing with like the mental health psyche to keep getting shit done despite any adversity that comes. I felt like that was like a good niche, so that's kind of like how it all started, and it was because of all the exposure I was getting, and I still get to speak there and do a lot of stuff, so it's great.
Fuck, that's badass, man. I got my first gig coming up. I'm so excited about it next week at a
Oh, hell yeah.
college, and
Hell yeah.
I have no idea what I'm going to say, but that's kind of the way I do
That's
things.
that's the best
I
part.
just, you know,
Uh,
the guy's like, he's like, you know what? They'd love to hear about experiences. I was like, well, I got fucked up in this. And he's like, but leadership, that's all he told me. He's like, oh, they, you got to impress on them leadership. I was like, I can fucking do that. So we'll talk about that. But quiet professional in the Green Berets, right? And all of a sudden, we're not at ASU. You kind of got forced into being the opposite of that. How did you take that?
I loved it because like it was a whole new identity for me. It wasn't like, hey, I'm this Green Beret anymore. Now like I reinvented myself. And and the funny thing was because the last couple years were kind of sour for me, even though professionally maybe they were great on paper, but internally they weren't. So it was nice when I'd made headlines and seventh group posted about it and stuff like that, and it went all over. Swick did it. They're like, retired Green Beret did this, and it was funny because it was like I'm no longer that Green Beret anymore. Now I'm like this ASU guy, and like it's just something I fucking loved it. And a lot of people that I talked to for 5, 10 years were reaching out or like, hey man, you're making the regiment look good, and I was like, well, that's funny that now because when I was in, I felt like I was the enemy. You know what I mean? Or just didn't get along, just had some bad experience with some people. So like it kind of made, like I said, my career suck towards the end. So it kind of helped resurrect and me appreciate, where I came from, especially all those other guys that had saw that too. And it was also it was a good recruiting tool too. A lot of stuff are happening. They're like, hey, no, this is going to be great. People are going to want to, be an operator. But I never thought about it like that because I didn't want nothing to do with the military. I was just like, nope, let's just focus on me being, Green Beret, not former Green Beret, but I'm just ASU guy now, and I'm setting my sights high. Motivational speaking, I'm going to be a therapist, whatever, help save lives. So it was great, and because of all that exposure and not being quiet, um, I've been able to get myself into places and touch lives, and them touch me in certain places because of it that I wouldn't have. Like how I even got into motivational speaking was through Rudy, because when I walked on, I was like, man, I could be like the next Rudy. That was like my mindset when they gave me the opportunity, not knowing that I would be working with Rudy later, the actual Rudy. And Fox Sports had did like a little short documentary first before the USA Today documentary, and Rudy had seen that, and I'd reached out to him, and turns out, well, we ended up meeting, and Rudy was like, did you know that I was in the Navy? I'm a veteran. And I was like, what? No. He's like, yeah. He goes, the movie doesn't say that. He goes, because there's too many victories. He's like, but you and I had a similar path. And I was like, fuck. I was like, outside of being a walk on, but yeah, he went to because he was dyslexic, but they didn't have like a term back in the 60s for that. So he was like mentally retarded, is what they called it, then. So he couldn't even get drafted when when Vietnam happened. But he still was like, I got skills, like I'm great, like out of high school. So he made friends with a recruiter and joined the Navy. They did like a little waiver for him. He did the Navy and did his 4 years, and then some colonel with a like a class ring from Notre Dame like was inspecting his ship, and he was like in charge of them. He's like, hey sir, how can I get one of those? He goes, these are all your men. He goes, you can do whatever you want. He's like, no, I can't because of my disability. He's like, you can do anything you want, and that like inspired him. So when he went out, that's when like the rest of the movie comes. The guy dies, and Rudy's like, I'm going, but he had a GI Bill, so that's how I went to school. And then same thing, like was able to finally get something on paper to where he could transfer to Notre Dame, and then had the same struggles, just trying to impress the coach and do whatever to walk on. And so we kind of shared that. And then so by us doing like speaking engagements, I was able to kind of talk about Rudy being a veteran because most people don't know that he's a veteran. And so that was like a crazy thing.
That's fucking cool, man. And it makes me happy that you're like adapted to it because some guys they just won't. Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want this. And they'll
I
kind
had
of
to take
bring
a lot of brunt.
themselves down.
Well, yeah, out of probably like what people will say, like you're supposed to be quiet, or you think you're better than everybody else, or like you were a shitbag at this time. Like, you just got to take a lot of hate. But it's like, man, like kind of like what you told me earlier that inspired me. Like, hey, man, when you're injured, rest. Don't try to prove
Yeah.
yourself. So like in those other instances at that time, I took that advice. Like I'm doing this because like it's me at the end of the day. And And it really helped me out too because I got divorced right after the USA Today documentary came out. So 2020 hits, and then it's like, hey, we're gonna part ways. And I'm like, I still got 6 months of school left. We got so many kids. Like, what? Like, I finally just created a life for us, but I'm gone all the time. But because of that exposure, it allowed, me to have a good support network, like, Grunt Style, for example. Co-owner kind of took me under his wing, and after I got divorced and we had to, like, lease was up, graduated, it was like, okay, now I'm probably going to be homeless. But instead, oh, I had that little stint with the WWE where after I wrestled, I got to actually start at ASU. So it was pretty cool. Like, it was kind of like a Rudy thing. Those guys, like, let me take their spot to wrestle. So it was pretty cool. And then after that, that's I gave up my eligibility because I couldn't. That was the rules at that time. And I went to the WWE tryout in December, then got some dates to do like extra work, and it was awesome. So I'm like, I'm gonna be a pro wrestler. I reached out to Diamond Dallas Page. Well, try to send him like an Instagram. I'm like, I'm 35. I'm like, I'm joining wrestling just like you. You'll see. And you don't think anything's gonna can happen like that, but I'm like, I'm gonna get on the indie scene. I'm gonna do whatever. Then divorce hits. So I just had the WWE tryout. January hits. Then it's like divorce. I'm like, what? And then that's February. Then March, COVID, everybody's like quarantined in the house. And now, like, I'm not doing stuff with WWE because they released all the people that were already signed. And I was just you know, trying to get in the developmental system. So I'm like, oh man, I'm like, as soon as I graduate in May, we have to get rid of the house. Kids are going to go with mom, and I'm going to be sleeping out of my car. So I traded in my car because I had a Prius, good on gas, but I knew I couldn't sleep in it though. So I got a Corolla, and I knew I was going to go on the road, but I knew with the help of Grunt Style and Rudy and just doing speaking engagements and just traveling, wrestling like in, parking lots, bingo halls and stuff, I would make it. And then I got to go to OVW with Al Snow. They gave me an opportunity to do like live TV and get exposure out there. And that's where they introduced me to DDP because Dallas loves the military and created DDP yoga. And I was actually doing DDP yoga back when I was at group. So I went to a treatment center, came back and did yoga. Because I mean, most people wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. But at a treatment center, you have to do what they tell you to do. Like, hey, we're doing arts and crafts, we're learning about this. You just got to try things you don't like. I'm like, I don't want to do yoga. Did yoga, it was the first time I was out of my head. But when I finally came back, I was like, well, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, so I'm gonna do some DDP yoga. And it's funny too, because I end up Dallas moves me, gives me the opportunity to work for him. We come up with Warriors Purpose, and I'm basically going to be like he actually trains me, so he trains me how to do DDP yoga, whatever. He's also let me wrestle. I get on AEW, just living my dream for the most part. But at this time, we're going on about a year or two. Like, I'm away from my kids and I'm hustling, and you know, I'm thinking, you can get fame but no fortune. I thought I'd be rich by now, and then I just started like kind of like self-sabotaging, not being able to where I thought my value was a little bit more than what it was because it was a different niche. Like, I'm not at ASU anymore. I'm not at Green Beret anymore. Now I'm in like the entertainment world with these guys. And I was able to skip some lines because of what I had done before, but still, like, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. At least I'm even there. But in my head, I'm like, hey, I'm the same age as them. I should be here. And then not seeing my kids, like, I'm sacrificing a lot and I'm working for nothing, and just probably saying a lot of true things. But then I was like, fuck it, I'm done. Basically, just like self sabotage, quit the job, and then like, I'm gonna go back to school, get my master's, because now I'm not gonna make any money. Do that, and then I pretty much, self sabotage again, man. And it was just like, now what do I got to do? I got to reinvent myself. Like, being a therapist, is very tough. Being a counselor, because other people's problems are your problems. And if I haven't dealt with my other unprocessed trauma, like, I'm not making it any better. So then about a year ago, I finally just decided to like own my life and just didn't finish my degree. I was working as a counselor to stop that. And I was like, I still want to help people. I was like, but obviously I got to help myself first. And that's when things just kind of started lining up again, working with Grunt Style again, and then Diamond Dallas Page. And then they started the Warriors Purpose Foundation, something that I, helped start, but kind of walked away from. Um, got reunited with the guy that took over, Scott French, and then became like family. And then from there, just things like came back to life. Now I'm teaching DDP yoga again. I'm doing seminars or workshops, with this book that got published and, was selling really good. I got active duty guys that reach out to me because they use the book and stuff like that. And just crazy stuff like that happened. I'm like, okay, man, I'm glad I didn't, self-select out, but from selection, I always say, don't self-select out, you never know. That was one of my key things in this workbook is like, man, I'm so glad I didn't self-select out. And even when I got to my lowest point, uh, there was still value there. And I was able to kind of get that and just keep trucking, man.
Let's play a little catch up for the folks at home and see if I've got the timeline right here, right? So Northern Iowa College Wrestling. We enlist
Northwestern,
in the
yeah.
Army,
Yep.
Northwest Iowa. We enlist in the Army. We're a tanker. We got Iraq, selection, Q course, Afghanistan. So now you're a Green Beret.
Mhm.
So you got multiple tours. Then you go to
Centrals.
Afghanistan.
Yep.
Then you get promoted to E7. Then you take a Special Forces Operational Detachment Alpha, which is the best job in the military.
Yep.
So you're a team sergeant, right? As an E7.
Yep.
So you're a junior guy taking a team. So you get to do the best job. And so you're under equipped, but you still do the job, right? So then we get medically retired when you start instances. That's not enough. So we go to Arizona State University and walk on to the wrestling team, 34 years old, 33 years old, right?
Mhm.
That's badass enough. They kind of discover who you are. Then you start speaking to the, you publish a book, continue, got to start a match, a Division I match, right? Also,
Yep. Yep.
that's badass as it is. Then you get out of there, and you get into the World Wrestling Entertainment, formerly WWF.
Yep.
Oh, you meet all of these celebrities: Diamond Dallas Page, Jon Snow, working with Grunt
Uh,
Style.
yep.
AEW. Then you go do AEW. You're running the circuit, doing speaking engagements, and now we get into modern times. Dude, that sounds pretty badass.
Yeah.
When you lay it out like that, are you happy with that? Like, do you stop and look around and go, man, I've accomplished a lot of shit.
Absolutely. And I have to because of the, I lost basically like my family, a lot of good friends, me chasing these things too. But by not self-selecting out, you know what I mean? Like relationships came back to me. My quality of life is so much better. It's where my mindset's different. I'm not out there hustling, trying to get rich and famous anymore. Now it's just like I'm sitting back, like enjoying being a dad, doing those things while still having the opportunity to be an ambassador for Grunt Style, do books, all these relationships that I self-sabotaged, you know what I mean? Like, so when I do get down on myself, I use my own book myself, I sit back and I really think about all that I've all that I've done. And I'm like, okay, so then I'm only 40. So what's the next, you know, 40 years look like? If I could do that in that short of time with that duress, like now I'm in a spot, like I said, I'm medically retired. I have that and I have great support. So it's like, okay, you don't have to go in this high op tempo anymore. So what means more? Okay, like yeah, I could take this cool contracting job or somewhere else for X amount of money, but I get to see my kids every day, anytime, all that. So like different things like I value more. And when I do kind of get like the itch to try to go back out and try something again, I remind myself like, okay, man, like you're down to 3 kids now because 4 are out of the house. It's like you got to make these younger ones have a different bond with you than the older ones, and you don't want to like they kind of need you. So and because you did all that other stuff, like that what allows you to kind of do have the life that I have now. And I saw this thing from Mark Wahlberg because I felt like I've done all this cool shit, but none of my kids care. Like I can have like the coolest like wall of fame and everything, and it's on TV, whatever, and it doesn't impress them at all. And I was like, damn, I was like, when I was a kid, when I go to high school, I was like, I wish my dad's name was on the wall or any of the other stuff, or if I had a celebrity dad, that'd be cool. And I've done this stuff for them, and they're like, I'm not the cool guy. And Mark Wahlberg did this interview. They're like, what do your kids think about it? They're like, not impressed. And they're like, but you're Mark Wahlberg. He's like, try to tell them that. He's like, and then they have a brother, Donnie. He goes, yeah, that actually kind of makes it worse. He's like, I may be cool for a little bit if I introduce them to like some celebrity or whatever, but then it's short lived. And in my head, I was like, I'm like, I'm definitely not anywhere his star power, but I have some pretty A-list friends that's the only time I'm cool is like, I get them to make like a little video for my kids or whatever, or so they can like share at school, like, oh yeah, yeah, my dad knows, Teddy Swims or Paul, like, stuff like that. And but outside of that, like it's pretty cool that when I think about it, that I don't have to do anything to really impress them, even though I wish they would be impressed by a lot of that stuff. And they may be later, but I've noticed like the whole time they never, no matter what like stardom I've got, it was just like, hey, cool. Like, can you make us grilled cheese?
I'm impressed and sitting down here. I'm totally amazed also because I didn't know any of this. And that's what I love about doing this, right? I just saw your picture. Like, perfect. Somebody who is open about being a Green Beret. Let's talk about Green Beret shit and
Well,
life and all that other stuff.
that was the gimmick I had. So when I first got into pro wrestling, I had like this. Of course, I was a little bit differently. I was obviously taking some extra vitamins at this time and whatever, trying to look the part. And had like designed this outfit to where like I was like a Bret Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart looking, but it had like Arizona, it had like a flag, so it still kind of was me. Then when I got to Al Snow brought me to OVW, he goes, look, on TV, he goes, everybody wears this, either some type of singlet or whatever. He goes, I want you to be the military guy. And I'm like, what? He's like the G.I. Joe looking dude. He goes, because if someone's flipping through a channel, if they see a guy with a mask or an army guy, they're going to stop. If they just see a jack dude in tights, it's just going to look like any other wrestling show. And I hated it because I was like, I wanted nothing to do with that. I was, Roman Rozell now, the fucking walk on. He's like, what's the only reason why I even cared about your story? He goes, I don't care about the Arizona State shit. He goes, I cared about you being a Green Beret. And I was like, oh. So then he gave me that opportunity, and I put on the camo or whatever. Didn't have the beard. I was still kind of like styling my hair, trying to look pretty. And then when I got to the opportunity to go work with Dallas and them, and was on AEW, they're like, grow the beard out because Green Berets have beards, and just be the Green Beret. And then it was like, hey, you can be the first Green Beret in pro wrestling type deal. And I knew like I was probably going to get flack or whatever like that, but I was doing a lot of work, charity work with the Green Beret Foundation at that time. So they let me put like the logo on the back of my singlet. So it was like I was representing them and everybody else because they do a great job with helping other Green Berets. So just like me being out there was also again another marketing tool. Like, hey, like here's this Green Beret out there, and those were like the promo pics that I have on there that that they would use for the flyers or like the little video reels. So it was always just pretty cool, and it was just like, yeah, everybody's like quiet professional too, but it's like a little kid that sees that would think that's badass, and hopefully they'll become an operator, or serve the country. So that was the mindset. That's how the picture came
I
up.
think it's pretty badass hearing about it right now. Just, I mean, I never got to talk to anybody who did this shit too. Like, I'm a little kid over here. Like, I started this whole thing. I've got to talk to people in the last few days, people I never thought I would get to talk to. And it's like
Yeah.
blowing my mind and just the conversations. And I'm just trying to be me. So I want to know, like, what's it like to be in the ring in front of all those people?
Oh yeah. Like, I don't know. I still try to do it occasionally because it's like the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke,
Yeah.
like, or a lot of these people that you see, they're still trying to do these gigs because you can't, I never got to like be as big as these other ones, but still just the smallest version of that was adrenaline like no other. Like people out there that are buying your merch, wearing your stuff, and you have these aspirations that it can become bigger, like you can't really replicate that. So when it's done, you're like, oh God, like how do I match that now? And so you just got to figure out, reinvent and do other things. But being in the ring was crazy because you're with your boyhood heroes. I'm in the locker room with, the Hardy Boys, Sting, Taz. Hell, I got a Taz tattoo, and he's commentating my matches, the Big Show, like all these people. It's like surreal. And and again, like I said, if you're not taking care of yourself, like I self-sabotage all that stuff. And then after being out of it for so long, I was like, I can go back because the opportunity's still there, and there's always uh business can always be done, if there's an opportunity to make money. But it was more or less like, no, you can't handle those bumps because that ring is tough. Like it hurts. And the recovery, like in the training, these guys, they don't just do wrestling matches. Like I was at the Nightmare Factory. It's a school where you train. Like when you're not on TV or training or traveling, you're there training, learning your technique a little bit better, TV angles, stuff like that. And that's that's another like SF type training in itself, like going balls to the wall, running the ring ropes and everything like that. So that's why it was so difficult. Why Dallas got so much notoriety for being the oldest pro wrestler coming in at 35, because usually that's like you're down, like when you're retiring. So me doing that, totally understand uh why they don't sign people all the time. And that was what WWE told me, because they did a little spot on me where they did this they showed the tryout, and they got they basically did like a little small documentary of me, like doing the tryout and my accomplishments and all this stuff. So it was pretty cool that WWE did that. So I'm like, I'm gonna get this big contract. And then later they're like, it's not probably gonna happen. It goes because you're in your mid 30s. And I was like, there's a lot of people in their mid 30s. Like, yeah, they've been doing it since they were 20. I was like, you flew me out here. You did this cool little video reel that has the everything like that. And they're like, yeah, we did that just to thank you for your service, and it's great for that. And we'll give you these opportunities, but right now, you know, this is your first year wrestling. So that's when I was able to get out in the circuit and do whatever, to where I could have got back to the WWE maybe. But again, I got a little too big for my britches and just was trying to do too many things at once, and just get good at doing one thing first.
Yeah, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing if you
Absolutely.
can't avoid it. So are you a heel or a babyface, or what do you got there?
Yeah, well, we that was the thing. Like we try to do outside of AEW, like just like other indie work and like other little small promotions that are like on streaming networks, like the CW at the time, or on Roku and shit like that. They would try to go like to a heel approach, but nobody really wants to boo, like because I had a tag team, Derek Pizzatoro, so we were called the Violence of Action, and the Grunt Style First Sergeant, who's the owner of Grunt Style, he was our manager. So like we would travel and do all these things, and it was hard for them to boo us because I was a Green Beret. My other buddy's fucking like 6'4", jacked to the gills, and just looks amazing. And you got Grunt Style there, so it's like, why would you want to boo any of that stuff? Like Grunt Style makes funny stuff. We were doing funny stuff. Like we'd have a spot. Our finisher was called the Eiffel Tower. Where I'd throw him, we'd do this, and he would like set him up for a power bomb, and I would catch him and like slam him. So like little stuff like that would get over with the crowd and stuff like that. So it was like we had to, as much as we try to be heels, it wouldn't work.
That's that's fucking funny, man. I don't even know what to ask right now. I'm like lost
I'll,
in the story because I'm
I'll,
like, fuck,
I'll send you
what's
some videos later.
fuck yeah. Well, I'm excited. Well, I want to keep talking, obviously, but now I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do my research. I should have done ahead of the time, but now I like hearing it for the first time. So I'm excited right now, though. But if we can, I also want to go back to ASU. What was a typical workout week like with schooling and practice, and then you've got to meet on Friday or Saturday?
Oh man.
Because a meet in college is a big fucking deal, right? It's a big production. Uh,
Yeah, it
it's
totally
not
is.
like your high school. It's not like your high school fucking going to the town down the road, right? ASU, you're resting like Oklahoma or Iowa, right?
Yeah. but those like the starters would go to those.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
So
like
you're
yeah, like there's 40 guys on a team and like 10 starters and like the second, third string guys. And sometimes
okay.
you'll spend all 4 years there and not get a chance to start. But you know, it's like you can be a star at like uh, how did they used to tell me? They're like, well, it's like being the legend at your local tavern singing karaoke, or you can sing backup for Metallica, you know, the weights. And so at ASU, I lived about an hour away from campus and we had practice at 7:30. So I'd have to get up at 5 to beat like rush hour because everyone's, you know, hitting the freeway to try to get there. And I would just I would just listen to some type of like motivational messaging the whole time I'm there because I'm like, oh God, this sucks. And we do weight training in the morning. Weight training or some type of agility after weight training slash agility training. So it's just like, you know, regular SFPT, you know, Thor 3 shit. Huh. And you got these trainers doing that. And then, you know, uh, eat, shower, and then go to class, and then struggle through your classes or whatever, then go do like your internship wherever that's at. And then you'd have practice at, you know, we'd have practice at 3:30 and you'd get done by like, you know, 6, 6:30 sometimes, you know. And by the time I get home, it's like 7 or 8. And if my kids are like I was coaching like club wrestling, you know, then I'm never home. So but that's what it was like. And then, you know, just doing homework in between those times, like whether it's lunchtime or whatever, because I was trying to maximize my time with training. But that was like that was like a normal day for for those years that I was there. Just
Fuck, man, you're doing it to yourself. I mean, being a Green Beret is fucking rough enough, and then you go try and because are
yeah,
you working also at this time, or is everything kind of covered with because you're retired and you're getting
uh,
your BAH from college?
yeah, that's what it was. The BH from college. So that's why after that ended, I was like, uh-oh, like I got to go hustle now and start running the indie shows to try to become a famous pro wrestler or motivational speaker or whatever. It was just like, you know, you're in survival mode at that time, and you just got to use what you have at your, you know, resources to get there. And thank God, like I said, Grunt Style helped with a lot of the traveling and hotels and stuff like that for me to survive during those
Yeah,
times.
where does that come in, grunt style? There, like, where did they come into the fold for with you at ASU or prior to that?
Well, initially at ASU, but because they didn't have like the programs right now where people can make money off their name, image, and
Hmm.
likeness, I couldn't do it. But a guy I went to high school with, he he works for Glock, and his wife is a shooter, and she was a Grunt Style ambassador or whatever. And he was friends with the actual owner that started it. And when Fox Sports did that little short documentary, I got a call from my buddy that you know that I just reconnected with, you know, and he was like, "Hey, would you like to have a meeting with the owner of Grunt Style?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, he wants to talk to you and possibly bring you in, you know, whatever it is, but he loves your story." And I was like, "Oh my God." So that's how that happened. They put me on like a nice little like an ambassador contract. Hey, make the here's some outfits, start making content, all that other stuff. And that's when I learned that I wasn't allowed to because of the NCAA.
Yeah.
So we put that on hold, and it sucked that I couldn't do it. But I was like, well, it'll still be there. And when the WWE sent me that email about coming out to a tryout, that's when I was like, okay, maybe my wrestling time is done, you know? And so like me getting to also wrestle was like a farewell too, you know, because I released my eligibility to go do that. But once I did that, that means I can get back with Grunt Style. So doing the wrestling thing. And then I got with the co-owner who is a huge wrestling fanatic. And it was one of his dreams was to always be like like a Bobby Heenan, like a manager. So it kind of worked out. So that's how they helped me um, fulfill my dream of being a pro wrestler because didn't have anything at the time then with the divorce, but I had their support and still do. You know what I mean? It was cool that they invested in, and we're not talking like millions or anything like that, or even thousands. We're just talking about like the time, resources, and anything that I needed to just to get by to do what I had to do. They were there. So it's like, man, it was uh, hats off to them, man, for even looking after veterans. I know a lot of people probably hate grunt style. I know some people do, but what they've done for me behind the scenes, um, it has been awesome. And other people that I've seen work with.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any opinion either way. Good for them. They've, to beat all of this, like the algorithms and the monitors, and then
Oh, I know.
have, to get up there is a task in itself. Yeah, they started a long time ago, but good for them. Everybody that does is successful. I wish more people would tell the truth in some aspects of
Yeah.
getting to the top. And you know what I'm talking about, but we don't talk about that on this show. Is
Yeah.
be a little more authentic, but no, good for them. I don't have any opinions either way. I just good for them. That's what I
Yeah.
say. And hopefully they use that, as you said, which makes me happy. They use their status within the veteran community to help other veterans get their start or bolster them up. And that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to be so big that people, and I've said this many times, 100%, if you send me a message, we will record an episode. If you were a soft dude or dudette, you can come on here and we'll talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about.
Hell
We can
yeah.
plug your book. We can plug your shit. You got some channel you want to plug. You got anything. We'll talk about whatever. And, uh, and that's will always be the base of the show. So that's kind of what I want to get into. Fuck, man, that's so
I love it.
fucking
Yeah.
cool. Like all over the place. What
Yeah.
is Warriors Purpose Foundation and I guess the mantra behind it?
Well, originally Warriors Purpose started when Dallas brought me in to kind of use like the veteran audience. Because he gives like 50% for his subscriptions to all like veterans, first responders, or veterans. And me being like a Green Beret could like be the face of that. So we started Warriors Purpose that would have like his workouts, but like we would call them different things. You know, I did like a warrior burpee and stuff like that, just created just something different, like a kind of tribe thing. And when I left, I walked out. So I left them with this whole thing like, hey, we created Warriors Purpose, a logo, t-shirts, like we flew in people, and I left. And the people that were there eventually took it over, and it's like, hey, let's create a foundation to where we can kind of give back and help other people that, you know, can't walk or whatever. So like Dallas has a really good he's helped everybody like they can't walk, he gets them walking again, moving, and it's all through DDP yoga. So Warriors Purpose Foundation was created to um just bring in other people and kind of help get them back with a whole new lifestyle, like whether that's with nutrition, just habits, and you know, counseling, all that other stuff, peer to peer. And that's what I was doing with them for when I was there. We do like a 90-day program where people come in, and we had really good results. But like I said, I kind of ruined that and was able to get back with them 2024, and they started the foundation. So it's still like in the infancy stages, but me with the book, like every profit goes to the Warriors Purpose Foundation, and just to help other vets and other people that kind of lose their way. And it's like, hey, it doesn't matter how many times, you know, you get off track, just the fact that you want to keep going and try again, that's some sign of hope, you know, and eventually your you your heart will catch up to your actions. So you just got to keep trying. So that's Warriors Purpose Foundation right now, you know.
I like that, man. And all of your profits from a dose of inspiration warrior handbook are going to that foundation.
Yep. All of it.
That's awesome, man. Why did you make that decision?
Um, to show that it wasn't like um it was for myself, but also for other people to show like, hey, yeah, I was able to get back with Diamond Dallas Page. I mean, we'd always been together, but like now I disappeared from like social media or from like this star point of view um for like 2 3 years, 2 years, almost 3 years. because of, I put on like 100 pounds. I had to like became an alcoholic. I had to like change my life around. So when I finally took my life back, everything else fell back into place. And um and the fact that I was able to do that, again, the setback was the setup for other great things. I didn't want people to think that I was doing this for, like I'd done in the past, like I'm just trying to get rich and famous. Like now my quality of life was here. I was like, I'll even prove it. Like I just want people to use what I've been using to, go through some of the stuff that I've gone through so much to where like I can give it away for free, and without taking a dime from that. So it's like, hey, this is how much I believe in it, to where I won't even make a dime from it. I'm just happy to be in the realm to where my mission is, like I said earlier, purpose, serving and loving on others. And now I get to kind of do that and walk through them with the worksheets that, I have to use too. Like this proof, like it helps. It's no substitute for treatment or therapy, but like I said, it's a good supplement. That's why I call it the Warrior Handbook, because it's not just worksheets about mental health. It's also like how to get shit done. What are barriers? Like meditation, DDP yoga. It's like uh goals. It's just a good like little pocketbook. Like we used to have to carry in the army, in the regular army. You got your smart book on you? And level one, skill level 1, 2, 3 tasks. That's where that idea for this. That's why I call it the Warrior Handbook.
I got my book out of the supply closet right here. Remember these?
Yeah. Yep.
I got that one. I
Absolutely.
dug that one out of the Pelican case not too long ago. I got all my notes. That's the show. This whole show that we're on right now is born from this little book right here. All my notes and everything.
That's what's up.
That's great, right? And that's service. And I've got this like evolving theory of the military doesn't give a shit about you. It's a machine. It's gonna keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
You're just a piece in the whole grand puzzle. And special forces is a bigger piece, and you fit into that. But the beret, right? Beret gave you a lot of things: confidence, leadership skills,
Yeah.
gave you all these experiences,
Language.
and language. Interpersonal communication, everything. It took a lot from you, a lot of guys, they let it take their life away from them,
Yeah.
but you learned a lot. You got a lot of things from the beret, from earning that green beret, right? And we get out and we feel like we owe something for that being
Yeah.
us earning that right, and we feel like we have
Yeah.
to give something back. And I say you know, that's all I want to do is help people, and that's all you want to do is help people, help them get their start, or do this, or just feel better, or
Yeah.
feel alive again, right?
That's the main thing.
Because
Yeah.
so many people get down on themselves. They doubt their abilities or what they can do in life, and
Oh, big
you
time.
can start over at any time. Oh, I want to get back in the gym. Okay, do 15 push-ups, 15 sit-ups, and 15 air squats right now. Guess what? You're back in the gym. Tomorrow's day
Yeah.
2,
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that.
and we don't have to worry about it starting. We're already started. We don't have to wait till Monday. We can do it right now. And I love that. And there's so many people out there, and I've discovered so much now from getting into social media. There's so many people doing so much shit out there. There's no lack of support. You can throw a rock in any different direction. And everybody that I've reached out to has been so
Yeah.
supportive. Like, hey, I got this thing going on. I want to do this. This is the reasons I want to do it. Do you want to do it? Yes or no? No worries either way. I don't
Mhm.
care either way. You can blow me off, or you can send me hate mail. Lesser known operators at gmail.com. All hate mail, please send there. But I'm all about it. Any press is good press, but I'm all about it. Do you agree with what I just laid out there?
Yeah. 100%. That's the same mission, man. Same mindset. That's the grind, man.
I don't know.
Like cut from the same
Yeah.
cloth.
We try, right? We
Yeah.
try. Do you miss group at all?
No.
No.
No. I don't miss the military at all. But here's the thing. I guess when I miss group for like for that time period for what it was, like getting a mission, doing all that cool stuff. But I it really took so much out of me and away from my family, to where like maybe if I wasn't so interconnected still, because that's the beauty though, is like I can't say I miss it because I'm still a part of it. Like I still got guys in group that, use my book or call me and talk about things or whatever. Or I do workshops with other people like that. So being with Grunt Style, I'm still like involved in the military community without having to, show up to formation, and, be inspected. So it doesn't really feel like I left, if that makes sense. Because some of my peers are now like running stuff over there, and just the opportunity. So it's like I still am a part of the group or just the military in general, because I work with a lot of veterans still, like locally and nationally, like through social media and uh, just talks like that. So I guess that's why I said no, because I still feel like I'm a part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had a big break from the time I got out and then moved to Wisconsin, and there's nobody here at all. And now I've started this in just 3 months now, a little less than 3 months now, and I get to talk to Green Berets every day or every other day now,
Yeah.
right? And I'm starting to like miss it less because I'm back talking with the guys and talking about the stuff in the community and the
Yeah.
shared experiences. I can't wait till I can get this to the point where I can do it in person, where I can sit down with people and
Oh,
just
that's
like
that's
be
gonna
right
happen.
across and have a conversation. I can't wait for that point, and I hope everybody that's listening is with me when I get there.
Oh, for sure.
And developing this and learning, I get so excited when I make a reel and people like it and they watch it and they send it off to people.
Right.
Just me sitting at home looking at how many people sent it off about something in the Q course, you know, and then people find each other in the comments. Or
Yeah.
somebody sells a book because they were on the show or something like that. I love that shit to no end. I get so excited about it,
Yeah.
and that's
Love it.
really what's awesome about this. And to have you on and talk about your experiences and things like that. And now I know you and you know me, and now we know other people and
Yeah.
shit like that.
But it's great. But that's why I said like I don't miss it. Like it wasn't because I don't miss it. It's like I'm so involved to where I'm still a part of it. So I'm still kind of
Yeah,
living it.
yeah, maybe
But
that's why guys get so hung up on it being over. Is it's they think they get away from it, and it's no longer a part of their lives. When if you choose, you can still make it a part of your life.
yeah, like go be a point sitter. What I mean?
Oh, yeah, I could go for some Robin Sage work right now as a contractor.
Yeah,
But
that's what I was
yeah,
about to do last summer. That was what I was gonna do, but so it was the book route.
that's all right. Where are you living at now?
I'm in Arizona.
You're not. I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get the intro portion of the podcast at the end.
Yeah.
I'm really working on my communication skills and my order of operations here. Fuck, man, that's so many cool things. And what was like the pinnacle of your career though while you were in SF? Like, what was the point you went? I can't believe I get paid to do this.
Probably, yeah, I know that's tough, especially for the SF career. I guess maybe some of the schools that I went to, like,
Yeah.
you get to rent a car, you get a hotel room per diem, and I'm learning like just off the wall stuff to use. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm like getting paid to do this, you know?
I can't believe that, and no supervision. They just take your word that you're not gonna fuck it up.
Right. It's yeah. Yeah, those just learning those skill sets. It was just like, I cannot believe this. This is awesome.
That's awesome, man. Well, you sound good. Are you good though? Are you good where you're at right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why I said like quality of life is so much better than what it was me trying to get like rich and famous. It's like now I know what like peace and freedom's like and the things that are around me to where I'm like, man, if I would have had this mindset a long time ago, who knows where I would have been at, you know? So hey, but I'm blessed for it now. Like it's great to have like my family and kids, and friends and all that other stuff like around me all the time and just being in that headspace that instead of like trying to hustle to survive, I don't have to do that anymore. Like I said, I'm pretty well taken care of from the government. So that's the difference. Whereas like when I was out there hustling, I didn't have a lot of that, that's why I had to go to school to get BH or whatever. I had to pay so much child support, all that with all the kids. But throughout time, like you just learn that um, peace is actual freedom,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like stardom.
Yeah, the ability to just sit back and rest, right? And just
Yeah,
be content with what you've accomplished.
that's where I'm at now. Like it's just nice to have that because for so long it was just like, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing?
Yeah. I hear you. I'm I'm on this like right here at this right where it takes off. I just realized the other day that I'm obsessed with this, with what I'm doing. And the
That's
last
good.
time I
You
was
have to be.
obsessed with anything, I got this, right? I got my beret the last time I was obsessed, and then it was taken away from me. But now I can create it all myself. I can
Yeah,
just create my own fantasy land, another fantasy land, but I get to have real people in and come talk to me about real stories and real crazy shit they do. Like,
yeah,
people
yeah,
pass you on the street, be like, and you'd be like, hey, that was a Green Beret. He's a professional wrestler, Arizona State, and all this other crazy shit. And go, no way. Yeah, that's fucking cool. Just
right.
listen to what he's got to say.
Yeah, dude, it's
So,
wild.
yeah,
And I get the itch sometime. I'm always like, what am I gonna do next? Or I'm gonna do, this job somewhere else. And I always dial back like, nope, don't do that. Just stay by your kids. Let them finish school and go out there and make the money that you probably can make with contracting or this cool job or these opportunities or get back into, you know, uh, I don't know, entertainment, I guess I should say.
yeah.
Because there's always
Now
those
it's content.
opportunities.
Now it's content creation. You're a content creator. You're an influencer or something
Yeah, dude,
now.
I got to start in a movie last October, a Bigfoot movie called
Okay. what,
The Beast of
what
Trinity,
are we?
Texas.
I was about to wrap things up,
Yeah,
but
that
now we were just hearing about this shit now. Fuck,
I
I got
know.
to get with my research guy. He's really shitty this round, this episode.
It'll come. It's supposed to come out in the summer, so let's stay tuned. But it was just like a little small little part cameo, but it was pretty cool just to do that. I'm like, dang, like because I mean, just like 2 years ago, I was a depressed, alcoholic counselor. You know what I mean? Trying to fix other people's problems and not my own. And then so just fast forward like, year and a half, 2 years, I got family, bills are paid, creating content again, doing books, workshops, jujitsu, starting a movie. It's just like, holy shit, man. Like just when I thought it was over and like I couldn't do anything again, like God kind of surprises you. Like universe just lines up and happens.
Yeah, you're a Godfather 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
I know, but it's just meant to be that way.
Well, you put in the work and then you don't know. With the internet today, you don't know what's going to happen because somebody could find your shit and be like, "Oh, we need to have this guy. We got to do this,"
Yeah,
and stuff
I
up
know.
there.
Yeah, I
So
know, just wild.
that's what this. I record almost every day, and I'm like putting stuff out, and that Gary V. That's what
That's a lot.
Gary Vaynerchuk says. He's like, just put shit out, just put content out.
That's a lot of work too.
So I don't know. I don't. Is it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. Like I love it right now. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
obsessed.
No, I
So
mean,
fucking.
that's awesome, man. You're going to be successful.
I hope so. And if not, hopefully I can make somebody else successful. That'd be awesome too.
Well, just being obsessed with, like I said, just that like law of attraction, man. Like that energy, like those frequencies get out there, and like when you're obsessed, like anything that you think of or dream of is it's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, Denny
So,
told me that the other day. Denny from Security Halt podcast.
oh yeah, yeah.
He's like, don't let anybody fucking tell you you can't make it. This pond is so big and there's so much market out here. It is basically untapped. And I'm like, well, this dude don't even know me from anybody. And he's telling me this shit. I was like, I love to hear that. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man. So we'll see where it goes. I got 5 questions here that I ask everybody. You ready?
let's do it.
All right. What is your response to thank you for your service?
Usually say, hey, thank you for yours. Whether they're like, if I mean, it could be someone like at a gas station or someone working at Taco Bell or whatever. I'm just like, hey, like, thank you for yours, man. I'm like, I wouldn't be getting this burrito if it wasn't for you, that type of deal. Or someone else.
Oh,
I usually just kind of reverse it and say, hey, thank you for yours. I'm glad it's done with. That's what I usually say. Glad it's over, but thank you for yours.
oh,
Yeah.
I like that. Flip it and reverse it a little bit. We haven't had that answer yet. I like that. Mine, I just kind of ended with, it was an honor. Thank you.
Oh,
So
I probably should do that. That's what I'll do now. I'll
everybody's got a
reverse it.
different one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, but everybody's got a different one. Some people have given me 10-minute answers to that little question right now, where I go, I'm just sitting going, well, I didn't think we were going to go this direction with that answer. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So I love it. But all right, what is the one characteristic that sets operators apart from the conventional forces?
Being a self-reliant team player, you know, not being told like, hey, you gotta, yeah, we did PT today, but if you want to do this, you're probably gonna have to do some extra rucking when you get home. Just like knowing what we have to do to get something done and putting in the time to do it. You know, like we said, the lazy way, like, hey, if we do this full force today, I can get the next day off or something. You know what I mean? I'll have to like coast.
Yeah, it's a crazy way to look at something, right? The lazy way to do something is
Go
extremely
balls to the
hard,
wall. Yeah.
and then you can just get find I can get some time off if I fucking almost kill myself right here, but then I can go lay down and watch cartoons.
That's the
So
life I'm
yeah,
living right now, man. I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I went balls to the wall those years because now I'm chilling.
I love that for you, man. What is the one moment of your career that you wish you could go back and relive or redo?
Like, which career though? I have a lot of them. You're talking about like military or the pro wrestling,
Let's
the motivational speaking?
Usually we're just talking about the military, but
Oh, okay.
you can pick the question out as because you've had one to the other, and that career has kind of been furthered in different areas. So you can answer the question however you want. I just put them out there, and you can answer however you want.
I can go back. That's kind of difficult, like I said, because I have so many different flavors. Um, Probably go back and do the original work and intent. Like I know we're starting it like right now again with DDP Yoga, the whole Warriors Purpose Foundation. I my headspace is a lot different. Like I said, and my motives are different now. And if I just would have like could go back and redo that, there's a lot of ways that I could have quelled the storm and could have been further along. Maybe even pro wrestling too, because that was intertwined together. But just the veteran work, it's like but I'm happy that I had that opportunity to start doing that, or that I already have started. Like the past year or two, working with um, all the community. That's just been great. But it's because I missed it. So like I said, 2-3 years of not doing it, like I'm like, man, that's 2 or 3 years I could have, been further on, but it's all timing and stuff. But for that question, yeah, if I'd go back, it'd probably like start continue the Warriors Purpose program the right way, instead of just me trying to get famous in pro wrestling. Like I should have like realized what really mattered, and it was just community service.
You know now, right? You know now.
Yeah. But don't know, now I know.
Now you know. What's the best piece of advice that you received during your career or your service?
I think the advice like indirectly from what I said earlier, like from selection, don't self-select out because people will V-dub thinking that they fucked it up, or if they don't get their points, oh no, I'm not gonna make it or whatever. So then they get in their head, and I just remember Kadri always being like, hey, don't self-select out. Like we've seen people pass for way crazier things. Like, so get out of your head. So I just always carried that in a lot of situations where I'm like, I feel like everything's or the pressure is against me, but I'm like, it's just in my head. So as long as let someone else tell you you're done. Don't you like end it yourself. And then I translated that like with life, like, hey, don't take your life. Like let something else. get cancer first, like, but don't fucking take your own. Like, there's, you know, it's tough to talk about because it's like death and stuff, but um, that don't self-select out really kind of like just stayed with me. Same
Yeah.
like even for trying out with ASU and or like when I got divorced and I'm, living in the car or whatever, like, hey, don't self-select out, just fucking keep going. And not even just by taking your life, but like don't self-select out, keep following your dream, keep doing this, keep working on that podcast you're doing, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The whole death
That's
thing, which blows me away because it has no effect on how I live my life, or it's not even a thought, right? Because we all get to do it. Like
yep.
everybody gets to participate. So I don't care, like one way or another. Tomorrow,
Mhm.
20 years, I'm just going to live
Yep.
and not worry about it because we all get to do it. 100% chance. Uh,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
I think people just need to realize that. And like, don't be scared. Like, it's going to happen. Like, you just don't think about it. Think about the shit you want to do.
Exactly.
That you when you're gonna look back when you're old and wish you would have done. Do those things.
Yeah.
Do
For
those little
reals.
things to start that up now. But I have a different mindset about it. I just don't care. It's just one thing I just don't care about at all. And I don't think I don't know. Maybe I will when I get older. I think my perspective will change, but I don't. So
Yeah.
that's just interesting. But all right, man. What were you scared of then in the service, and what are you scared of now?
Man, the only thing I was scared of in the service was like, uh, hey, we're gonna have to stay later than normal, like family time, because every day it's like, wasn't scared about some of the stuff I had to do. Is more or less like, hey, someone lost this. There's mass punishment, so now everyone's staying, or we got to just do this because our major doesn't want everybody to leave. That type stuff. I don't know if that's necessarily scared, but it was like I wasn't thinking about anything else. Like, hey, today are we at least gonna get off on time so I can have dinner, with the family, the kids. But those were always like the things, or like, hey, when I get back, am I gonna be able to go to Disney World with the kids? Like, or do we have to stay on this like quick recall for something? So those are that's what I was scared of then. Scared of now, man. I always get scared like just because those residual effects, like with the brain and like, you know, I feel like I have early dementia, sometimes, or like I said, just I'm great, like healthy as can be, but then it's like, something could happen in my head and like I got a crazy migraine or like I stutter. Just those like those health residual effects like bother me and I always get scared. I'm like, man, I'm only 40 and like it's tough to navigate each day because it could go any way, you know. Um so I'm like, what's it gonna be like later? And I shouldn't think like that, but if we have to say if we fear that, it's like, okay, that's usually what I fear. It's like I'm gonna, like be brain dead or something like that, or I'm not going to be able to talk. I'm going to be a vegetable, stuff like that. So if anything, that's what I'd fear.
Well, it sounds like you're taking the necessary steps to avoid that, if possible, from being the case.
Oh yeah, like I said, can't do anything else other than just like continue to treatment or like counseling, therapy, hand-eye coordination, physical activity, like I said, jujitsu, working out, all that other stuff. It just helps reinforce those the muscle memories and stuff that the brain does has, instead of until Neuralink comes out from Elon, those
Soon
synapses will
enough.
fire. Yeah, but outside of that, it's
He's
just
got bigger problems at the moment, I'm sure.
yeah.
All right, 13-year-old me just phoned in. He's got a bonus question. Just because you've been in the ring wrestling.
Yeah.
What's it like to go to the corner of the ring and stand on that second turnbuckle and look out over the crowd?
I feel like Hulk Hogan or The Rock.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest things, and I always got to do you know ASU our hand sign signal is the pitchfork.
Yeah.
which we know is could be the shocker. But with me being like uh making history there, so that's like I get to always say forks up. So
Yeah.
going, so my thing would, I'd get up in the ring or whatever, and I'd be like, forks up, salute for the, military. And because Dallas trained me, DDP yoga, and helped me out, so it's always like forks up, salute, bang. And then the crowd would repeat that back. They'd be like this, or giving me that. So that's like, yeah, it's awesome, man, dude. That's a drug right there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you ever since you said that at or got this in the beginning. I was like, "What is that like?" Because when I was a little, I just remember that was just the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's
Seeing the
weird. It's
wrestlers
like
go up and do that.
just seeing people like believe you that it's real. You know what I mean? And again, we want your attention, like all of them, whether it's adults, kids. They're just like, look at me, like trying to like do anything that I'm doing. It's just like, wait a minute, I got them. So I don't really have to. And it's the psychology of that. I don't even have to go really do moves. I just have to like kind of just look at them and like, you know, see if you got them.
I had a great time, man. Roman Rozell, author of A Dose of Inspiration Warrior Handbook. All profits go to the Warriors Purpose Foundation. How can everybody that listened this far find you on the socials?
um, Instagram, Facebook, at Roman Rozell.
Fantastic. I will have links to your socials and where they can find the book in the show description. Thank you very much for coming on. You got anything for me?
Uh, no, sir, man. It was great. Just continue to get shit done, man, and stay obsessed.
I really hope so. I appreciate you coming on. Bye, everybody.